Since this is a team up, I'm going to play a special team up video. Here we go.
It's time to clobber on Clobberin Times. Like and share, or I'll be back.
It's Clobberin Time. Thanks to the great Stone Loki for both of those intros. I figured I'd never get a chance to use the world's finest one again since we already did that show, but it applies here because I'm teaming up with another superhero like I did with Loki. Oh no, he's a villain, but I call him a superhero, and thank you, Stone Loki. But one of the greatest superheroes who ever lived, of course, is my good buddy Michael French of Retroblasting. Buddy, thanks for being here, man.
No, thanks for having me on the show as always. I always love coming on your show, Mike. You were instrumental in making me aware of all the stuff that was going on in the geek space and social media when we met. And yeah, I mean, in many ways, no, literally, you were around before Retroblasting was around as a channel. So you just only recently made the migration in relative terms over to YouTube. And we're so glad that you're here. So
well, thanks, buddy. And, I was thinking about this. We have been doing this, you and myself, although there was, of course, starting over there on BTR for 10 years, this either last month or whatever, something like that. Can you believe that, dude?
I know. And this coming May will be our 10 years.
Oh, God.
Which is crazy. It's just crazy to think about. Yeah.
Yep. I'm over about 12 and a half years doing this overall, but you've been doing this with me for way longer than I've been doing it. And every time it's been just a great pleasure because you're not only a great buddy and a great friend in real life, you and I love Melinda. Love to Melinda, by the way. Mm-hmm. You have such a fantastic channel and you're just the best at this, man. It's just so easy to hang and talk with you about whatever our geek topic happens to be, dude. It just, I always get nothing but, compliments when I've had you on. People like the way that we, that we work with each other and stuff like that. And of course, I'm just hanging out with you no matter what the topic is always, a big thrill for me, brother, because you're a good friend and I miss you, man. I know we haven't been able to bump into each other in real life in a few years, but I always miss you and I always miss Melinda. And Retroblasting is the greatest channel out there, man. And I love it.
Thank you. I always appreciate when I'm not letting down my friends and I know we've all been there before where, and it's not that I make content worried about what my friends are going to say. It's that I make content worried that my friends will look at some of my content one day and go, is he holding back? Is he tailoring his message to, appease somebody or avoid a conflict and I know that, you would be the first to tell me if you felt like I was doing that. So to hear after almost 10 years that still isn't an issue, thank God. So.
Oh, dude, everyone, I'm putting the link. There's the link, everyone, by the way, everyone, for Retroblasting. But everyone already knows about it. And the off chance anyone who has not subscribed to Retroblasting, I don't know what you're doing with your lives. If you're geeks, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I'm just kidding. But thank you so much for being here, everyone. And please, if you have not, please go over to Retroblasting and subscribe and check it out. He has, so many amazing videos, including one that dropped today that I really enjoyed about Indiana Jones.
Yes. I was working on a totally different video that I will have done this week, possibly early this weekend. And you know how sometimes you hear news and you don't immediately react to it. You just kind of mull on it for a while.
Sure.
Well, yeah. So about a month ago when they said Indiana Jones 5 was delayed, I just kind of was like, sure. I mean, what else is new? Because at the time you're going, well, yeah, I mean, it's Disney Lucasfilm. Of course it's delayed. Of course, surprise is not canceled. Surprise the director's not fired. But, then one day you're brushing your teeth, you're getting ready for your day and suddenly it all comes together. And that was this morning. And I went, or it was yesterday actually. And I went, holy crap. I have something to say about this because I don't like doing videos that are just, I'm going to react to everything that happens, an hour after a trailer drops or an hour after the latest episode of something drops. Like, right. I know there's a lot of channels that do that and they're good at it and that's fine, but I'm not. If I'm going to react to something, it's going to be like 3.5 to 4 weeks later, like a slow, like a long fuse of dynamite, and then finally,
measured response.
Yes, right? And then finally, it's like, I have something to say, and then so yeah.
Everyone, obviously, not only go check out the channel, go check out the new video. Well, he's got so many great videos to choose from, but that was a great one. And yes, absolutely. And thank you, Stuart. Stuart reminds me of something that before we get into the Doctor Who thing, I'm going to do my show notes really quick. Okay. And I want to bounce something off of you because I don't know. We have not talked about it. Is not necessarily Doctor Who related, folks, but we'll get to that. First, quick show notes, everyone. Speaking of videos, I'll never be able to make them like Michael does, but I am trying to make more videos now. My Clobberin Time Spinner Rack Time Machine. I'm having fun with this one. And the new one dropped today, and the second part of the follow-up video will be tomorrow. So if you are into old comics, I take my spinner rack TARDIS. Again, the Chameleon Circuit is set firmly in the sun of a 70 spinner rack, and I go back 50 years. And my comic shop is called Clobby's Comics Corner, and I pick out, a bunch of old comics that came out that week in 1971, and I show you just a bit of a rundown of what I would have bought that week if I were collecting comics back then at the age of 7. But I cheat and I mix it with my really, really old man sensibilities as well. But they didn't change much really. So little bitty tidbit of comic book history there every week, which I have a lot of fun with. And then I'm also doing the short trips where I love the Bronze Age of comics. And so I have this new video up, a couple of new videos about just little bitty short videos about some pieces of Bronze Age comic book history because that's just a thing with me. I absolutely love it. I have the DC Comics Hotline video up and the Hostess Saves the Day, the Hostess Fruit Pies and Twinkies. If you remember those days where in one page a superhero could solve all the world's problems with a Hostess Twinkie, go check that video out. So it's just because we all know that's really the ultimate nullifier, in fact, that Reed Richards scared Galactus with was, in fact, a Hostess fruit pie. A lot of people don't know that. But it's true. And tomorrow on the Global Geek Gang, more Doctor Who, celebrating the anniversary with some really cool Doctor Who YouTubers joining me for the Doctor Who Round Table. I hate everything that's happened to the show in the past decade that many have, but we're just going to focus on what we love, much like tonight, just Doctor Who we love. So who we love, and I'll have the great Bulls Trek, formerly as he's called, Nolan Lee with the TARDIS Zone, Dan with the Space Book, and many other friends will be joining us for a Doctor Who love-in. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, that will be tomorrow. And then Clobby's Clubhouse, Raquel, and the great Mark D with a C, and my wonderful first officer Raquel will join me tomorrow night for that. And Saturday night Star Trek. This is just going off the rail. I cannot thank you all enough who have been hanging out with us. It's just getting bigger and bigger every week. You guys are just coming in here and just, man, it was just amazing stream. I really appreciate the participation. that you're all giving us with this one. Raquel and I are having a wonderful time, and we love you all. So that's just sorry about those show notes, but I wanted to get those out of the way. And okay, Michael, we of course have talked about James Bond films in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And about a month or two ago, our good friend Stuart Mitchell, who I believe is a fan of your channel as well, we were talking about Moonraker for some. I forget exactly why.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, there's a scene in Moonraker because I know you know the film.
Yep.
Where Jaws gets in a fight with Bond and Dr. Goodhead at the tram, and they get away from him and they think they leave him for dead with with all the debris that's fallen on him and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets out and he could make connection with this lovely, very tiny young lady,
right,
with some very nice assets, of course. And pigtails or whatever, and they smile at each other, and we know that in the silliness of this film, it becomes a little romance thing. It is touched upon later as a story arc in the film. Well, I and many others, I was there in 1979 when I saw it in the theater over and over again. I know you're not that old, but I'm not calling you old, by the way. But clearly, those of us put it to you like this: those of us who know that we saw the girl Dolly with braces, who smiled up him. And with her teeth, glistening in the sun, sparkling with braces. We know what we saw, but we're being accused of the Mandela effect, and they're saying that Dolly did not have braces. Now, it has been our belief and our contention is that it has been removed for the 2006 remasters. Here's a picture. She had braces. Everyone who saw it back then, or even saw it on cable later, remembers that it's all part of the story arc for Jaws. Right. She was like him. This is like a familiar, and it was a connection. I don't know if you're familiar with seeing the film before 2006.
Oh, I saw it as a child on the ABC Saturday or Sunday night movie. The one with the Star Tunnel.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember seeing it then, and I never knew this was now a Mandela thing. I always thought she had braces.
Well, they did. Remember they did remasters back around 2006 because my good buddy Mark D with a C went in to his DVDs when we were talking about this, because Stuart brought this to our attention, saying we were all being accused of a massive delusion, and saying that he looked at his, and sure enough, on the DVDs and I guess probably subsequent Blu-rays and all that stuff, they're gone. But I think they've been digitally removed. I remember that being something. That being a clear point as why the two connected in the first place. Yeah, I mean, she's a beautiful young woman. She's tiny. He's a giant. It's all a campy joke. They see each other. He's got the big, steel teeth. She's got the braces. It's how they fall in love and all that kind of crap. And it was there. It was it made her arc in a way makes no sense without it. But we're being accused of being delusional. Now, again, I don't know if, but I thought I wanted to bring someone of your authority on something like that and what you thought. I didn't know if you had many memories of that or not.
My memory of it had always been that she had braces going all the way back. And the last time I really sat down and watched this movie was around 2004. So it's been quite a while since the last viewing. Really, I own it on Blu-ray, but I haven't sat down and watched it, front to back yet.
Okay.
But here's my thing with that. There are so many shots of her, I believe, or unless I'm thinking of her future appearance, which I don't think she made a future appearance. Did she? Was this the only movie she was in?
I don't know if she's ever done anything else.
Okay.
French actress.
So if she doesn't make future appearances in other Bond films, and this is the only one that she's in.
Oh, this is the only Bond film. I thought you meant just other films in general.
Oh, no. Yeah.
No,
then
neither of them are. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of shots then where they would have to remove those braces. And if I'm remembering the movie correctly, because she's in the movie before she and Jaws connect, if I recall. Like she's seen.
Yes. Well, there's that one scene when she at the tram where they
right.
Remember that scene when they had the fight.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I don't want to dive too deep in it. I just want to see what you thought, if you knew anything.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things like Berenstain versus Berenstein, and again, I don't know what to account for it. I do remember as a kid seeing braces on her though. So
absolutely. Well,
yeah.
if we ever get a chance to talk Bond again, which I hope we will someday, let's we could mess with it a little bit more. Then
Yeah.
But I just wanted to let you know that is one of our ongoing struggles here at Clobberin Time to fight that good fight. Every time I see Stuart in the chat, I always make sure I tell him Dolly had braces. Never forget.
Yep.
Well, we got a super chat here from a gentleman by the name of Salvador. Hello there, with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. I know you know this gentleman, Michael.
Yes, Sal is he is a great YouTuber with the channel 2 Cents Toys.
Excellent. 2 Cents. I have of course, I'm subscribed to it, and I have watched much over there. Sal, thank you so much. He says probably a dumb question, and I'm not sure if I'm phrasing it right, but can a great costume design save a bad story? Vice versa. Can a bad story ruin a great costume? I don't have any on-hand examples.
I mean, I've seen great costumes in bad stories, and I've seen bad stories with great costumes. We might actually talk about a few of them tonight.
Oh boy, will we ever, huh? That's for sure. Now that is a very interesting question, though, there, Sal. I would say I think it can damn for me as a superhero fanatic. I can really kind of only go from superheroes in a sense. For example, and mostly with comics though, and movies I'm not so sure, maybe a little bit, but there's sometimes when I can have read a good story in a comic, or maybe even seen a film where they got the costume is so bad. Well, I'll give you a good example. The Superman and Lois show that's on right now. It's an okay show. A lot of people like it a lot more than I do, but I've watched it. It's okay. It makes my eyes bleed out seeing that crappy, horrible, garbage costume. Now, the first 2 seconds of the pilot where he wore the Golden Age costume made me cry. I loved it so much.
Right.
And then it was gone. And then they did an episode with some flashbacks of it, and it was beautiful. So it could definitely, if you're someone who gets hung up on superhero costumes, especially one like Superman, which is to me the greatest costume of them all, probably for me personally, when at its finest. Pardon the pun. It can mess you up. It can definitely. It doesn't make me hate the show, but it kind of aggravates me, if that makes any sense, Sal. So I want my costume. Yeah, that is the thing about that, Michael. I think it does have effect when it comes to people like superheroes in particular, because costumes are so important to them. Yep. And if I'm watching, for example, when I'm watching any of the live action Batman movies, it always aggravates the hell. I mean, they almost never get the costume right to my satisfaction. We got spams in there. But I got a lot of wrenches, so that's typical. We've been having that a lot lately.
We also have a super chat from Scuba Pete.
Oh, I must have missed that one.
That's okay.
Let me find that one, Scuba. Scuba Pete, was cool hanging out with you the other night on Mark's stream. I don't see it though.
I have it right here. I can read it for you.
Oh, please, because I can't find it. I would highlight it.
No problem.
Wow. Weird.
Yeah, it was. Yep. Scuba, thank you for the super chat. He says, I give this episode an A++. So cool when you two hang out and we get to listen in.
Pete, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. And again, I mean it. I need to get you on. It was this past Sunday night. My good friend Mark D with the C, Michael. He's just started a channel. He's my chief engineer here, though, but he's a great friend. He does a lot of just like we do a Sunday nighter where we all just kind of hang out and geek out a little bit really late on Sunday nights. And he of course makes some great videos. He's a 3D printer and things like that. He's an engineer and a great fellow. And Scuba hung out with us a little bit the other night, and we had a good time showing toys and talking about toys and plotting to steal his toys from him that he's got when he's not looking. So what a great crowd. We have a lot of great friends. Love you all. Thank you all for being here. Now, Doctor Who, I want to talk a little bit about your beginnings with Doctor Who, because my memory, what it's like, but if I remember correctly, and we've done, like I said, we've been doing shows for 10 years together. I think I've always just like said, hey, let's talk Doctor Who sometime. You said, sure. But I don't think we have talked Doctor Who yet.
We haven't, at least not like this. We've probably talked a little bit of Doctor Who in casual conversation, but not like this. And part of that was me probably begging off because because I am very late to Doctor Who. I'm very, very late to this game. And with a show on the cusp of being 60 years old, and I've arguably only been really watching it for the past 6. You can imagine how much of a uninitiated, unwashed peasant I feel like talking about Doctor Who. So,
dude, yeah, but see, I know you, and those who know you know that it doesn't take you long. If you get interested in something, you are let's face it, buddy, you are, in the best possible sense of the word, you get all the way involved in it, and
yes.
you are very thorough.
Yes,
you're the most thorough person I know. So if you're into something and you're gonna, and inside of 10 minutes, you're gonna know a whole lot about it, no matter how much there is to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just you, man.
That's true. That I appreciate that, and you're right. That is true. Yes, that's true.
And I got to tell you, I don't. How many years ago or so was when you think you started diving into it?
I would say it had to have been around. I first started trying to get into it around 2010 because they were on Netflix, but they weren't in any order.
Right.
And it was the classic stuff and the new stuff all kind of mixed together. And it was just story by story, and there was no way to organize it back then on their streaming service. And then, so from around 2010 to 2011, I dabbled. And I watched Ark in Space, and I watched Pyramids of Mars, and I watched the first few episodes of Eccleston's relaunch of the show and things like that. And then it kind of got away from me for about 3 years because I got busy with other stuff. The channel I launched in 2012, so that probably got me real distracted.
Sure.
And then I jumped back into it with some dedication around 2014, 2015, and started really making an effort to watch the classic show because by that point it was BritBox, I believe, and I could start actually watching it regularly. So it was around 2014, I think, when I really kicked it into higher gear, and it's been a regular journey ever since. So now I've got DVDs and Blu-rays, and I've got action figures out the wazoo, and I've got a whole Tom Baker 4th Doctor 12th season costume from head to toe. It's gone in on So
that's like I said, dude, you go all the way.
Yeah,
I mean, when you're into something, when you become interested in something and you really enjoy it, you do it better than anybody I've ever seen, man. It's just amazing, and so that's a good while. That's 7 years. That is that's not like 20 minutes, buddy. I mean, that's up there. So.
Yeah, it is. And there, we all have our weird ways into legacy franchises. Like I've heard stories about kids who were born in the 90s who, they got into Star Wars because they found a Lobot action figure laying in the corner of their cousin's bedroom and asked what it was. So like with Doctor Who, it's kind of the same thing. Like I think ended up getting into Doctor Who because of Liz Sladen, and I take that back. It was a combo. It was getting into Doctor Who because of Liz Sladen and watching interviews with Tom Baker just on YouTube about anything. Like I was just watching Tom Baker talk about stuff because I was aware of who Tom Baker was, and I was aware of Doctor Who as a character ever since I lived in the UK, but it wasn't on when I was in the UK. Like I literally was living in the UK during the wilderness years, like the beginning of the wilderness years.
The 16-year gap, as we call it.
Yeah, I moved there 6 months after the last episode aired with Sylvester McCoy, and I left 6 months before Dimensions in Time aired at Christmas. So I missed that window, like or I was in that window, in that pocket, and I missed it on both ends. So I knew who Tom Baker was, and I started watching his interviews just for fun because he is a fascinating guy, and he's so funny and irreverent, and his interviews are just the most entertaining thing that even if and his interviews aren't just about Doctor Who, because I'm talking about like interviews that he's done within the last 10 to 15 years where he's just being asked about his career and asked about acting and asked about life and asked about society and all this stuff. And he's such a delightfully bizarre guy that I remember saying to myself, yeah, you know, it's really time I made a concerted effort now to go back around and pick up the pieces from when I tried to start watching Doctor Who and really go for it, because this guy is a gem. And so that's kind of how it happened. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. And by World Made of Cardboard, New Orleans, so you're close to me there, dude. Yeah, I remember the YES, but we had a different PBS affiliate called LPB, and we got it serialized, whereas YES had the movieized. Back then, I started around 81 or 2, and I remember I had this old little black and white TV that can get I was messing around with the UHF feed once. I'm living kind of outside of Baton Rouge, and I picked up a Mississippi ETV broadcast of Genesis of the Daleks, part 1 or 2. Again, I'd already a few years previous. Michael, I'll probably tell you this before. Starlog magazine, which was science fiction and fantasy related info internet, basically back then, had a series of books. One of them was called Science Fiction Heroes in TV and movies or whatever. And it was this article, and it was this black and white picture of some weird looking dude with a scarf and in the hat and these strange pepper pot looking things surrounding him. And I'm sure you know the production picture I'm talking about.
Yep.
He and Elizabeth Sladen, which never happened in an episode, but it was just, and I was this Doctor Who. I don't, what the hell is that? And it was also like a picture of Peter Cushing, and I didn't know. I don't know, but I wanted to see it, and I read a few things in Starlog about it. Starlog didn't really report on Doctor Who that much, though.
Right.
So I didn't know what the hell it was, and this is right before it started getting big in the States. But it was Genesis of the Daleks. Well, certainly about a couple of months later, we started getting it here in the afternoon and serialized. And I say that because some people got movieized, versions of the 4-parters and what have you, or the multi-part episodes, whereas we got it serialized. Hello there, all these wonderful people popping in. Great to see you all. Thank you for being here. And no, it wasn't 32 out of New Orleans. World Made of Cardboard. It was actually LPB here was 27 back then. So anyway, we started getting it. I was running a comic shop at the time. Go ahead, Eric K. Attack me. I know you want to, buddy. And we started carrying the merch. It just became, dude. It just blew up. I mean, every one of us became obsessed with Doctor Who. We just fell in love with it on a level that we had not seen since Star Trek, which we also loved. And I had my mom had a lady make me a 10-footer scarf just like Baker's, which I loved. It was not in the class with that one you had made, which is amazing, but it was pretty good. And I would dress up. I had a coat that was similar, but I just walk around with my scarf all the time. And we handled Doctor Who merchandise. We, as for a while, the shop I was working for, we underwrote the show. Actually, we had fan club meetings, and I pissed off the local fan club by having a Death of Adric party. By the way, when that Earthshock first aired, Death to Adric, Death to Adric. Sorry, I hate him. Oh, I hate that little. Anyway, I mean Wesley's worse. I admit it, everyone, but Adric was the Wesley Crusher before there was a Wesley Crusher. So, yeah, I just fell in love with it for almost 40 years now. And so, but 7, dude, there's nothing to sneeze at, especially the way you deep dive on things. So,
well, I deep dive, but I also try and measure my my engagement and temper that with I've dived in, but I don't know a lot about the water yet. I'm willing to jump in and get in over my head, but right now, in certain areas of Doctor Who, I do feel like I'm just treading water. In other areas, I feel like I'm very experienced. Like, ask me about Liz Sladen, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Oh, yes.
But in certain areas, it's like, yeah, I really enjoy it, but I don't know if I can talk intelligently about it yet. So my list, for example, that we're going to get into in a little bit is going to have a lot of caveats like that, where I'm like, yeah, I put this here because, but I'll mention things that, really, really interest me, that I really love, that I just don't feel confident talking about yet.
No, I got you. Yeah, I met her back she came down here in 84, 85. down here back when. Again, a lot of people, I think a lot of our wonderful British friends over there. Hello there, your Muslim uncle. Hello there, everybody. Phantom Outsider, D-Bud, all you. So great to see all my good friends and new faces in there. Really appreciate you being here. And she came, a lot of our wonderful British friends, some of them are not aware of how huge the show was in the 80s in the U.S. It had it was a phenomenon. And yes, granted, after the 16-year gap, it waned a bit. Not for me, not for a lot of fans, but it was hilarious. It was just gigantic. And, I remember American fans did not know how to deal with changing doctors. I remember, when I started learning more and more about the show, and at the shop I was running, I used to carry the Target novelizations. For those who don't know, the Target novelizations, the Pinnacle books also reprinted some of the Targets, but they were that was our only way to watch old Doctor Who, was to read it for the longest time. And a lot of people, to this day, there are people who tell you, oh yeah, I used to watch Doctor Who when I was a little kid with my father. I'd hide and stuff. I'd get scared by the monsters and stuff. And they would always, if you talk to a casual, normie, as they say, they would go, or a muggles, as someone we know says, they'd say stuff like, oh yeah, the Doctor Who, yeah, the guy with the scarf and the curly hair, yeah. I used to watch that back in the 80s. That's usually kind of what people who don't know they'll reference Tom Baker.
Right. And
we didn't know. And when we found out there were doctors before him, I was like, whoa, really? And we started carrying those books. And we all know what happened, the tragic story, what happened to a lot of the Hartnell and Troughton episodes. And many of them at that time, if you wanted to know what happened to those previous doctors, you had to read the books. Some of the Pertwee episodes did make it in certain areas, but it was the Tom Baker ones that we got. We didn't get those. We'd have to go to cons, and people would bring old PAL converted tapes of Pertwee episodes, serialized usually. Then later into the 80s, they started running a few of them. And when it was announced that Tom Baker had left, even though he already had gone, we were just getting wind of it over here. Because, a new episode to over there would take a year or two to get over here, a new season. So there were people that were angry. Poor old Peter Davison got beat up on, probably not over there, but over here, a lot of American fans didn't want to deal with it. They were like, Tom Baker or nobody. And I still know people like that. Now, I love Davison, and I was one of the ones I couldn't wait to see Castrovalva, because as much as I love Tom, I'm like, this is fascinating. I love this concept of regeneration, which in my mind is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in any concept of television ever. The whole concept of the way to make the character continue and different. The same entity in a body that looks completely different and acts completely different. I love that idea.
Yeah. But you're right. It is something that doesn't naturally occur in American fiction. So for an uninitiated American viewer, it's going to take some getting used to if they don't know that's part of the structure of the show.
Well, yeah, and back then, all they knew was, wait a minute, Tristan's going to be Doctor Who? Because All Creatures Great and Small was fairly, popular here.
Right.
And people liked it here. In the States, it was not big as, not as big as Doctor Who was getting, but it was pretty big. So people knew Tristan, and they were like, Tristan is Doctor Who, huh? But I loved him. I loved Davison. I thought he had some great stories. But what I love the most about the changing, is that each Doctor contrasts the last one.
Yes. I sometimes feel like that the modern show has gotten stuck in a rut with the way they cast the Doctor, and they aren't learning that lesson from the classic show enough, which is that stark, personality change from one Doctor to the next really helps cement an era. Every single era in the classic series has its own defined personality. Whereas I freely admit, as much as I like the performances of some of these actors in the modern era who played the Doctor, sometimes I've gotten mixed up whether or not I've put Matt Smith in Tennant episodes and Tennant in Matt Smith episodes in my memory. And I've gone, because it gets so muddy with the way they're all just eccentric, kooky characters. And that is a slight criticism, I will admit, but I think you're right. Like the way that they would cast the regenerated Doctor in the classic era was far more wise, I think, than the way they do it now.
What's so brilliant about it. And we're going to talk about some episodes. We're going to count down our top 10 episodes in a little bit, folks. One of the things that's so brilliant about the whole casting thing is, with William Hartnell was a certain type. I mean, he had no one to watch previously.
Mm-hmm.
So the character was just going to be the old grandfather traveling through time, having historical educational adventures that did involve science fiction and fantasy concepts. And that was that. And then when he leaves, an American show would have just cast someone that looked similar and acted similar? Like, how many times, think of some old shows where they changed an actor, which has happened a lot in old American television, for example, maybe even new, but how you can think, like, one of my all-time favorite shows, Alias Smith and Jones. Of course, the acting change was because, unfortunately, the character had passed. But the next guy couldn't handle him. So that's not Hannibal Hayes. I can't handle it. And there have been a lot of shows where an actor would leave, someone else would come on that they were just the same character, and that's it. And it's like, well, I don't know. I don't think I like this guy as much as the last guy. Bewitched, anyone? I'm just saying. Nothing. Sorry, Ditch Sergeant. Not an insult, but if you see where I'm coming from. But the idea to make him so different, and you go, well, he's an alien. It was genius.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to. It was also not only it was that, it was a risk. It was a huge risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a huge risk because, even back then, we hadn't gotten to that point yet. But in just a few years after Doctor Who's premiere, they would be wrestling with the question of how are they going to recast James Bond. And at that time, it was kind of a bumpy ride there for a while. Now, they found their way out of the woods and, got back on track in the best way possible. I think any character can survive a recasting, quite frankly. But you're right. That was a very big risk at the time when they went to Troughton. And they knew it, I think. But cooler heads prevailed, and thank God they knew what they were doing then. And they made it work, and they made it work really well.
And Troughton, in a sense, set the template for all the future Doctors, because even though when you get to Pertwee, he's definitely a little more reserved than Troughton. He's not a complete Hartnell either. He still has a sense of humor. He's more of a wry wit. Again, I love the contrast though, but yeah, again, a lot of people, every time a Doctor's leaving, would get dread, like, I don't want to see this guy go. And I've always weird because I'm as you probably know, I always get accused of hating change, and I do hate change for change's sake. And I always get accused, you just never want to see anything change. In this show, I do want the change. In other words, I love who's leaving, and I'm like, I love that guy, but I want to see what the next guy does.
Yeah.
Guy. I know he's a male character. Sorry, to me, we won't get into that argument tonight. I'm just saying.
That's the thing. If you're gonna recast the part regularly, recast the part very regularly. And when I say that, I mean in the way Doctor Who has done it. Give everybody a few years and let them have their chunk of time, and then recast and make that part of the show. And if I think this is where Doctor Who has also sometimes not learned its lesson. I think the lesson Doctor Who has taught us that it itself has not learned yet is that if you're going to recast the show a lot, the lead, you need to be recasting the main writer even more frequently. Like, seriously, because a show can survive a recasting most of the time. There are instances in entertainment history where somebody has been horrendously miscast, like The Conqueror starring John Wayne. Like, and that's not, I'm not even talking about, that was ridiculed at the time for being silly. Like, and we all agree, yeah, bad call, guys. Like, okay, hubris at work there. But most of the time I have found that I'd say 85% of castings can stick the landing with a certain caliber of performer, as long as the writer is doing his or her job. And if the writer's not doing their job, it doesn't matter if you've got Jack Nicholson or, you know, Clint Eastwood or take your pick in the role. It's going to bomb. It's going to bomb. So Doctor Who has been immensely illustrative of that, with having whole stretches with bad writers. And you and I both know it can kill it. It can kill the show.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A world made of cardboard for $5. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. Thank you. Says, watching Doctor Who prepared me for the death of Optimus Prime. I just thought, cool, more stories. Wow. I've fans of that movie weren't happy with that death, things I've heard. Hey, Six. But I haven't, I don't know much. I must admit, I don't know much about Transformers. I know Michael does, but that's from people I know who love, Transformers. They were not happy with the Optimus Prime death, but World Without Cardboard handled it well. So well done. There you go.
Yeah, and the thing about Optimus too is that aside from the voice actor, he's not really being recast so much as he is being reanimated. And I know that they have recast the voice actor occasionally, which that has to happen too at some point. So yeah.
Well, when you talk about recasting, that's one thing you and I probably don't agree entirely on. Some characters, when they are co-created by their actors, like the original Trek characters, no one will ever be Kirk or Spock or any of those characters.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I wasn't trying to imply that. I was thinking about I was thinking about legacy heroes like Superman, and as much as I love Chris Reeve, I also really love George Reeves, and I also really love Kirk Allen. So I'm not, and the same thing goes with Doctor Who. I mean, I just did a video about saying that I've been in the minority my whole life, saying that Indiana Jones was established as a James Bond type genre character by the creator himself, who said, I've got something better than James Bond. So, he wanted him in a tux. He wanted him to have a different girl every movie, all that kind of stuff. And then suddenly, oh no, we can never recast Indiana Jones. And it's like,
I hear you.
Yeah. I don't see Indiana Jones the same way I see the cast of Star Trek, the original series.
I knew you weren't saying that. No, I got you.
Yeah.
I was saying, and not only that, like I was going to say, is that like you mentioned Superman, James Bond's another one. Now Indiana Jones different, but I hear you on that one. If it's a character that started in another medium, anybody can play them, and if some will be better than others, you may like other. But in the case of something like, and Doctor Who was supposed to change, so that's fine. It doesn't even count really.
Right.
But something like Star Trek, the original series, those characters were co-created by those actors, and I'll never accept anyone in those roles. But I'm flexible with you. I love multiple James Bonds. We've talked about that, and it would be tough for me to see anyone else but Ford play him. But I could. So
what I'm saying. Let's not misunderstand the way they took the series. They have painted that role into a corner where it's impossible to recast it. But the intent of where they began from concept with that series was, we have an alternative to James Bond that's going to be just as good, if not better. And you go, great. And then suddenly they totally pivoted and abandoned that format. And now you can't recast the role. And it's like, well, that means Indiana Jones isn't going to continue. So,
right.
Damn.
And you should all go watch that new video that dropped today that what Michael's talking about right there. He's got a great new video about Indiana Jones that you need to go. He is also, I mean, when it comes to Indiana Jones, if the Indiana Jones fan has a name, it's Michael Friend.
And again, I want to reiterate, based on the way they took the series after Temple of Doom, nobody else can play Indiana Jones now. And I personally find that, as much as I've enjoyed Last Crusade, I personally find the change in direction for that character disappointing, simply because it dead-ended that character's longevity in media. It's like,
no, I got you.
Yeah. So anyway,
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like Lucas has made a career of disappointing fans of, we didn't get any more Star Wars after 83 for some.
Yep.
And he made you wait to 99 for that. And he did the same thing with Indiana Jones. It's a pattern. But when we should have had a lot more. So there you go. But on Doctor Who, because again, I know you're a big fan of Liz Sladen, who is just wonderful. And one of the things we'll talk about later is some of the companions and stuff and doctors. But and I know you. Let's see here. you did watch the Sarah Jane Adventures, right? Because there've been some spinoffs. I know you like that one.
Oh yeah, I've got
That
the
was a
whole
good show.
DVD set.
Yeah, that was a great show.
Mhm.
What are I mean? Is there if she's easily your favorite companion? And before we go into the episodes, I'm just going to ask you: do you have any other ones that you like at least fairly close?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you know, I did a joke one time. There's Parks and Rec, the character of Ron Swanson. He has this. There's this gag at one point where he talks to camera, and he's got this picture of just this brunette woman, and then like bacon and eggs, and he's like, he looks at the camera and he says, "I'm a simple man." He's like, I like pretty brown haired women and breakfast food, and I photoshopped that where it's like, I'm a simple Whovian. I like pretty dark-haired girls and tin dogs, and it was just like a picture of it was like Liz Sladen. It was Liz Sladen and Mary Tam on the top of the photo that I photoshopped in, and then underneath it was K9. So I if you're asking me my companions that I really like. All right, hold on. Let me just clear my head here. So we've got Liz Sladen on the board. I do really like Mary Tam's Romana. I really like Leela in her own way. There one of Leela's episodes actually made my list here. Yeah. I loved what's her face, Donna Noble. Even though the reason I like Donna Noble is because the modern Who showrunners got, and Davies is guilty of this as well. They got way too obsessed with making the companion a romantic interest to the Doctor, which I'm like, come on, dude.
Absolutely.
And Donna broke that mold, and that's why she's one of the best companions of the modern era, if not the best in the modern era that's ever been. But I also really liked Perry a lot because she was really different. Even though she didn't get to do much before she was so unceremoniously taken off the show. Boy. Yeah, what a travesty. I like Ace a lot.
That's
Ace
my favorite right there. I love Ace.
Ace is great. And I like Joe Grant. You know.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot to love, and I freely admit, I'm like we talked about earlier, I'm feeling my way through some of this in the background as I keep going on my Doctor Who journey, and I know for a fact that I like Susan. I just don't know enough about her yet. So Susan, his granddaughter, Carol Ann Ford, I really like Susan, and I'm sure that there will be shortcomings of the writing that will prevent her from getting enough screen time or something. But I like her, and I want to get to know some of the other first and second Doctor companions better. Like I like Jamie a lot, but he's distinctive. Like you know who he is because of his accent and his kilt and everything like that. But some of them, especially in those black and white eras, they can blend in a little bit. You know, it's like I gotta focus on them a little bit.
No,
more.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, and well, Ace has always been one of my outside of Sarah, which is the easiest one to love the most for obvious reasons, and I love Joe Grant. I even love Liz Shaw but I love Ace. I mean, she is. I think that's an era that doesn't get. Well, at least she's a companion that doesn't get enough love that I think. So, I tell you what. After we do episodes, and we could talk a little bit. I want to talk about some of the eras and some of the comics and stuff like that a little bit. Touch on some of that stuff. But if you want, you want to go ahead and we can just. Do you want to do 10 or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I think we can do 10. I'm gonna cheat a lot, but
cheating. That's okay, bro. Listen, there are no rules here. There are no rules.
Yep.
By the way, this list is. I'm not that confident on my list either because it's just 10 is just brutal, and I could change it any moment. There's so many other ones. I mean, this is I have not done this on a show since around 2000. Like 10 or 11, because around 2010 or 11, Doctor Who magazine, when I still bought it, came out with an issue that at the top there were only at that point it was a special thing because there were absolutely 200 installments of Doctor Who at that point, and they were ranked. It was right before Matt Smith took over. So they ranked them, and then we were all talking about that. Like, man, this is some of these. Whoa, these rankings are, you just dispute it. So a friend at the time, we did our top 25 countdown and stuff, and then I look back at that and I go, man, that was tough to make 25. 10 is brutal because there's somebody you're leaving off so many great ones. So after we do the 10, we're going to throw some other ones out there because people are going to be throwing fruit at us. Wait a minute, you didn't put this one on the list. Wait a minute, you didn't put that one on the list. What's a favorite? It's a list that is personal. Obviously, it's favorites. Does no one say? I'm never the big on someone saying these are their top episodes or anything, or these are the best. It's just the ones I like the most, folks. And sometimes that fluctuates over time.
Yeah. You're going to see on this top 10 list, everybody, that I cheat with ties. I have some ties. So
it's a top 20 list, really, of into tits.
Yes, in certain way. Yeah, it's currently tracking as a top 16 list at the moment.
Well, that's okay, man. We forgive you in advance.
Yeah.
So, what is your? Let me got a super chat here. I want to thank you, James Salzberg, for the $5 super chat. You were too kind. Thank you. Clubby, did you put the Marvel Premiere issue U.S. reprint of the magazine 4 issues in a prominent space in your store? Well, when I was selling them, we weren't getting. Wait, let's see. I thought you were talking about the U.S. Let's see, the U.S. reprint of the magazine. Marvel Premiere. Well, I'm trying to figure out. Let's see. Did you put the Marvel Premiere issue U.S. reprint of the magazine 4 issues? Oh, yes. You're talking about the Doctor Who Marvel Premiere ones. Oh, yes. Those things went up. Now, when you're thinking Marvel Premiere, here's what I thought. I thought you were talking Marvel UK. Then I also thought you were talking about this. But this is Marvel Premiere #1, which I just so happened to be reporting on today. Just happened to have that there. But I can't remember Marvel Premiere number 40 something or other was the Tom Baker reprints, which were reprints of the British from the British Doctor Who mag. And I think if I remember right, James, we did have those for a while. Now they're going for a pretty good bit. Even though they are reprints. So yeah, I mean, you're jogging my memory here. It's been a while. I don't even have those anymore. What those are, Michael, is reprints from the Doctor Who Weekly, later Doctor Who Monthly magazine. I think Dave Gibbons' Doctor Who stories of Tom Baker. Well, you're seeing him right there next to your picture up there, actually. You see that? I was just telling that's from the first American appearance of Doctor Who comics that were reprints from Doctor Who Weekly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was, I see him right there. Yeah, I think I've actually got that issue.
Yeah, it was Marvel Premiere, but I can't remember the issue number there, James. But yeah, that's a Walt Simonson cover. That's taken from a Walt Simonson cover. Tom Baker up there. Dave Gibbons interiors, but I can't remember. They're pretty pricey now, though. I can tell you that. But they were reprints, and I think we had them on our wall. I've seen them on many a wall. Clobby, one of these days, I got to tell you about my custom DVDs of the Loose Cannon reconstruction episodes. Oh, yeah. Whoa, Troy, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, my friend. I really appreciate you. Absolutely. So, Michael, go ahead and give us your number 10 in your top 10 list of favorite Doctor Who episodes, buddy.
Okay, so as we talked about right before we went live, in the interest, even though you've been very complimentary of my devotion to learning about Doctor Who, I am still very much a novice in many ways. It will take me many years of apprenticeship to become the journeyman that you are. I decided at the beginning of this, since I was the one that chose 10 slots, and then I realized I shot myself in the foot doing that because there's just so much great Who, that I decided to split the list and make sure that modern was represented alongside classic. Mm-hmm. So my number 10, and again, I'm going to come at this with a lot of disclaimers, all right? So don't bite my head off. Don't bite my head off, everyone.
I never would, and they will understand. Everyone gets you.
There are many examples, as we just talked about, where doctors who were cast were great or had the potential to be great as performers, but were hobbled overall by their writers and showrunners during their time in the role. we're seeing that right now.
Yes.
But
Yes.
my number 10 for one scene alone is the Zygon inversion with Capaldi. And the reason I say that is because
I know
as
what you're
much
talking
as much
Oh,
as
yeah.
the scene with the two boxes, as much as I don't like the way Moffat wrote that version of the Doctor, as far as some of the things that were peppered into his era, things he said, things he did, some of his what do you call it, his weird out of left field attitudes and stuff that didn't really line up. I felt like his monologue between those two boxes and his attempt to make peace between these two warring factions and the way he was trying to get them to think, I thought was really, really well done. And I loved his acting in there, and I loved what the scene was trying to accomplish. And so I had to put that at the reason it's number 10, everyone, is because this entire era of the show, though, was hobbled by a terrible writing team. So,
Yes.
So it was awful. It was awful. But that monologue alone is something that I've watched so many times. I love the way that scene was constructed. And frankly, it just proves to me that if you put enough monkeys and typewriters in a room together, one of them will eventually write Hamlet. Because eventually they wrote that one scene. Like, out of all the crap that they threw at us throughout that era, they did write that one scene. So that's why it's in my number 10.
Nothing wrong with that. Thank you, Max Redstone, for the super sticker, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you. Good to see you. And we will not bug you to make limericks tonight because we won't. I don't have time. But if you do get a limerick, you have to tweet it to me. I'll get it on the next show, buddy. He's the limerick king. He gave us all kind of ones about Star Trek the other night. They were hilarious. Well, dude, look, you know me. I love the actor Capaldi. I just don't like his era because of the acting. I mean, not the acting. I mean, not the acting. The acting was great. The writing. But I totally respect it. Capaldi was just a wonderful actor, and that's to me, that's one of the tragedies of Doctor Who, that he never, got a chance to have good writing. And don't worry, dude, they're going to make fun of me for my list way worse than yours. I can already tell you that right now.
Well, I will say that Capaldi is shaping up to be in the legacy of modern Who. So far, he is in the same situation that Colin Baker was in, a fantastic actor with some of the lousiest writers in the history of the show. So,
Yep. Well, my number 10 is Day of the Doctor.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard a lot of people criticize Day of the Doctor, and I guess they're relevant criticisms. I suppose I can respect them. I want to set up, first of all, everyone, the Davies era for me started out, obviously, as you know, it started out with Rose. Mm-hmm. And I personally never enjoyed the Last Son of Krypton stuff in terms of him being the last Gallifreyan, or him thinking he was.
Right.
I did not like that story arc. I liked it better when he was a renegade Time Lord running from his people, having adventures. And that put up too much drama for me. I did not like that. But, and I understand, look, I would have loved to have had Eccleston come back too. I get all those problems. But this episode, just when I'm watching it on that simulcast around the world, it was showing it at the same time around the world. And I'm sitting there just enthralled. I think it's a wonderful story. I think it's a brilliant story. And I will fully admit, everything about this, loving this, is about nostalgia. I mean, it's a good story, don't get me wrong, but this one just tugs. You talk about how you picked the reason you picked your number 10 was just something about it spoke to you. Mm-hmm. This whole thing was just amazing for me. And what I loved the most was, I remember reading leading up to it that Tom Baker was going to be in it. But by the time we got to the scene before he shows up, I'd forgotten about that. I was already really loving the episode. It was about to be over. And there's Matt Smith talking to himself. I could be the curator of this place. I could be the great creator. Mm-hmm. And my son and I are sitting there watching it. Remember, the whole world's watching it at the same time. And you hear this voice coming off camera. I really think you might. We both just screamed. I mean, I lost it, dude. Like, oh my God. We look at each other. Oh my God. I fell out of my chair. I totally forgotten. I heard he was going to be in it. I just figured that was a rumor. Maybe he's not. That voice, that booming, beautiful, unmistakable voice of Tom Baker.
Mhm.
You know, I really think you might, coming from behind him, just floored me, dude. And that whole scene, I could watch it a million times. It made me want to cry. It was just beautiful seeing Tom Baker there and all his oldness glory. And by that time, and when the doctor walks out with his narration, and we get to see this, all the doctors that ever were. There aren't millions of doctors. There are only these folks. And then you could add, Capaldi to that because it's not his fault what happened to him. This episode makes me happy. It has a lot of great drama and great scenes, but there's just something about it. The pure nostalgia of this thing, it's like a payoff from my, at that point, 40 something years of loving the show, or 30 something years now. I've loved it for almost 40 years. I just thought it was a beautiful episode.
Yeah. I only ever had one problem with this whole episode, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but I guess I'm just in that camp. Paul McGann should have just been in the place of the War Doctor. I don't understand why they did that. I don't get it.
Agreed.
That's the only part. And I love John Hurt. I don't have a problem with John Hurt as a person or a performer. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, great
actor, great loss. But why on earth did Moffat not write Paul McGann into that role? I don't understand. So.
Yeah, I'm absolutely agree with that. But for what we got, I thought Hurt did a fabulous job, and I adore the episode. It just it's one of those something that you've loved for that long. Sometimes you could just let go and love it, even with all the criticisms. And I totally agree with what you say there. But we got what we got, and so I was happy. What is your number 9?
My number 9 is Voyage of the Damned.
Oh my goodness!
And there are two very shallow reasons for why I put Voyage of the Damned as number 9. Number 1 of shallow reasons is because there is a midshipman in the movie named Alonzo Frame, who reminds me of my friend Mike Alonzo when I hear that name. So that's and that yeah. And then I don't trust that guy. And then the second reason is that Kylie Minogue is in this as the featured companion for this one-off adventure.
Right.
And my love of Kylie Minogue knows no limits.
Yes. For those who don't know, Michael's a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a big
so.
literal fan of both the music and the person. It's not just some ratty pinup poster. Like I actually really like Kylie Minogue as an artist as well.
But she is a very beautiful woman too. Let's be honest.
Yes, there's that as well.
She's lovely. Yeah.
But yeah, so I freely admit that the episode itself is the height of Davies' indulgence as far as like the heightened theatricality of it and everything. Yeah. I could give two craps about Titanic stuff. I'm not a big Titanic person, but as far as the show is concerned, the episode, it is action-packed. It does have suspense. It's kind of Poseidon adventure in space and all that kind of stuff. And so I liked it. The only thing I didn't like was that Kylie's character got killed at the end, which is like, oh, come on, guys. But other than that, it's great. So,
yes. And I remember, I think the thing that aggravated me about the episode was killing her character. I guess we didn't know who the next companion was going to be. Or yes, at the time, if I'm remembering correctly, I could be wrong. But I wanted it to be her. And
me too.
You watch that and go, is she going to go with him? Oh, that would be so good. She's really good. And by the way, it is valid drama for a character to die, and all that stuff. But it's like, damn it, I don't want her. I mean, yeah, and obviously you don't want anyone to die, but you're like, that sucks. I wanted her to be around. I mean, at least let her live so you can see her again or something.
I'm sure that the producers would have loved to have had her around I'm sure it was a scheduling conflict or something. And also this was, I can't remember if this was, I want to say it was right before, but it might've been right after. No, this was after Martha. So this would have been Christmas of 2007, I guess. It's hard to remember, but somewhere 7 or 8. Yeah. She either just came back from cancer remission or she was about to get diagnosed. I can't remember which. I think she just come back from it. So You know, she had a lot going on in her life at that point. But the fact that she went and did this and became part of Doctor Who's legacy and all that stuff is just stellar. So I love it.
Yeah, and she is wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
My number 9 is Remembrance of the Daleks.
Yes.
I could probably make a case for having it higher for me. I'm a big McCoy fan. A lot of people don't like, the Nathan Turner era, and they don't like McCoy and stuff, which, I understand a lot of the criticisms of it. But this episode is pure joy to me, and it is, of course, the 25th anniversary season, in fact, because I love Silver Nemesis. Didn't make my list, but it was, right. It was conjunction with Silver Nemesis. This was for those who don't know, the Eric Soward God era of Doctor Who, where they made this mystery of the Doctor is a little bit more. What is he? Who is he? They never went that far into it. They never explained it. By the way, that's a good thing. Don't explain everything. Doctor Who should be mysterious. But it was a fun thing to think about because they introduced that in the McCoy era. Like, what is he? Who is he? And this is just a absolutely wonderful, entertaining episode. It moves beautifully. It's got that crazy soundtrack that I know you're not familiar with. That what is that? Radiophonic Workshop music.
Yeah. It's very much of its time in the late 80s for TV production. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I can watch this episode over and over again, especially when the Doctor takes the hand of Omega and he takes Ace's aluminum baseball bat and energizes it with the power, transforms it, and he gives it back to her. And later, Ace fighting a Dalek with a baseball bat energized by the hand of Omega. Again, that's why I love Ace so much.
That right there, though, that visual is one of the things that as a newcomer really confused me, because not in the sense of the context of what was happening in that scene, but because I had not actually, because I was getting a lot of my Doctor Who history around that time from watching classic episodes while also just absorbing a lot of the behind the scenes documentaries on things I hadn't even seen yet. And I got the impression that Ace always had a bat. Like, I thought that was like part of her stock. Yeah, I've since learned otherwise.
No, I got you.
But yeah, like I thought that Ace, had her nitro and her bat. I thought that was like her thing, know? And then I found out that the bat was only in that story. And I was like, oh, weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I love the scenes at the Coal Hill School. There's a scene where Ace goes into the classroom and sees the book there that from The Unearthly Child that Susan is reading. And that's right where we first see Susan in The Unearthly Child. And they're all kind of wonderful little because it's the 25th anniversary. The nice little throwbacks of that. Even Michael Sheard is in it, and he's been on a lot of Doctor Who.
Yep.
He's been, of course, who he is. Anyone,
who he is. Admiral Ozzel.
And yes, and De Fuhrer, and
that's right.
And, he's been on Blake 7, been a lot of stuff, and a number of Doctor Who episodes. Of course.
Yes, he was also in Colditz, one of my favorite TV shows.
Right, Colditz. Other Doctor Who's he's been in Pyramids of Mars, Castrovelva. So yeah, this guy's been all over the place. But this is just a fun, fast-moving episode. I love the gun Dalek. Mm-hmm. Or whatever. What do you the artillery Dalek, or whatever that he's leaning on right there.
World Made of Cardboard. I know she always had Nitro 9. What I was saying was I thought the bat was also always with it as well. I'm not confused about the Nitro 9.
No, so. I got you. And I loved it. I loved it in Silver Nemesis, which barely missed my list when she was using gold coins with her slingshot to kill Cybermen. I love Ace.
Yep.
Oh my goodness! So go for your number. What are we at? What are we at? 8?
Oh, we're at 8. Yes.
Go for it.
So my 8 is the 11th hour.
Oh my goodness, dude! Do you realize we have a tie?
Oh yes, we always end up having a tie on these lists.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I love it. Proceed, sir.
Okay, so I think the 11th hour, as much as I would end up not liking Moffat's writing overall. I don't like his obsession with the pawns as a couple on the TARDIS.
Agreed.
I don't like the way he writes himself into pretzels with the time-space continuum. I want to look at him and just grab him by the collar and be like, "You're not as clever as you think you are." As much as I want to do that.
Yes.
The opening episode of Matt Smith's introduction as the 11th Doctor, that first story. Wonderful sense of fairy tale and whimsy, wonderful sense of
Yes.
using the time travel thing appropriately to create both suspense and drama. Wonderful connection between the two principals, Matt Smith and his new companion, played by Karen Gillan, and wonderful use of music and scoring, as well as the suspenseful plot that it's around. Very well written to create a really great science fiction suspense piece. The things that we wouldn't know from watching this, if you haven't seen it, is that unfortunately they decided that because it worked in the 11th hour, they would just apply that musical score to everything after that, even when it didn't make sense. So
That's right.
yeah, 11th hour to me is far and away one of Matt Smith's, I think it's Matt Smith's best story, from a writing perspective, and that's not his fault, obviously. I like Matt Smith as a doctor, just like I like Capaldi, but aside from this, I think Moffat really tricked us with this one. It was like, oh wow, this era is going to be great, and then it was like, oh, after that. So
it was all downhill from there, and I do like some of it, but I'm so with you on the ponds. But this one, it's magical. All that stuff at the beginning. I think my favorite part of it is because, again, we just come off of Rose with the puppy love stuff. What's her name? I love Martha, but she had the puppy love stuff. At least Donna kind of broke that a little bit. And right away they're establishing, because, look, hot redhead being on what's her name, Amy, and I really do love Karen Gillan, but they went for, and I don't know if this was calculated or not, but anyone I know in my real life, like because look, I'm a dude, I love hot chicks, but I'm old now, and I see, if I've known like a person since they were a young child, then I can't see her any other way. I don't care what everyone else sees her as. I love the fact that he used that. He sees her as a child first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what she is. Then 5 minutes later, she's a grown-up. Well, not to him. And I love the scene early on when he's basically was just, you were a little girl 5 minutes ago. She says, you're worse than my aunt. I'm the doctor. I'm worse than everybody's aunt. That's pure magical writing. And it worked later when he realized, when she's all over him, because it's been 12 years for her. Okay. But he's like, no, you are a little girl, and you will always be a little girl to me. I'm thousands of years old, and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's just, I didn't meet you as an adult, or even close to an adult. I love that aspect of it, and it's just that they had to bring in I don't know. I like Roy as a character, but in this one, everything works perfectly. It's beautiful, and again, that speech on the rooftop is worth the price of admission.
Yep, absolutely.
Number 7, man.
My number 7 is this is kind of going to, in some ways, it's not like Zygon Inversion as to why I picked it. In other ways, it is. All right, but let me explain myself. So, my number 7 is Bad Wolf with Christopher Eccleston from the new Series 1 relaunch, and
nice.
I'm gonna sound shallow when I say why, but I'm gonna reinforce this. So I'm gonna reinforce it first, then give you my shallow reason. So I do think that in many ways, the whole satellite, the return to that Satellite 5 reminded me a lot of the return to the Ark in Ark in Space, and then Revenge of the Cybermen. I really liked that connection, intentional or not, that 2 of the episodes were taking place in the same location, just a few episodes apart. Yes. It did remind me of the Tom Baker thing. There was that. The other part I really liked was, from a story perspective that kind of tied back to classic, was the fact that there were these bizarre game shows going on that were being broadcast back down to Earth that were brutal and inhumane and sociopathic and all that kind of stuff. That felt very Doctor Who sci-fi, and it felt like something that I probably have seen or would have seen written into a classic story as well.
Yes.
I liked that part of it. It feels more Who when they lean into the theatricality of it, and they I think when Doctor Who gets too subtle is when, like with Moffat's writing, it starts. And I'm not saying Moffat was like elegantly subtle. I mean that Moffat got too intricate and up his own rear end. So like this story, I think, was very straightforward in a great Doctor Who way, while still making those science fiction allegorical connections that are always the bedrock of good sci-fi writing. And so you have that going for it. But then you also have, which is a moment I'll never be able to forget as many times as I think about, when you mentioned to me Christopher Eccleston, Doctor Number 9, the first thing I always think of, and I know a lot of people think fantastic, or they think run, or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The first thing I always think of is where he figures out why he's in this Big Brother game, what the hell it's all about. And then he sees that camera and he gets right in its face. And he's like, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to find my friends. And then I'm going to find you. And I'm just like, oh, this is so good. Like, so there was a lot going for that episode, and it's one of my favorites of the modern era by far.
Well, it is very entertaining, and it was a wonderful time for Doctor. So, dude, totally with you. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
My number 7 is, and again, I could name you probably 10 episodes I think are far better, more brilliant handled stories. I'm sorry, we're calling this is a favorites list, folks. So I got to go with nostalgia, and that's of course the 5 Doctors.
Oh yeah.
The 5 Doctors is in every single way ridiculous, preposterous. You could go on and on about how absolutely insane and messed up the story is, how it makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't, and I'll admit all of those things to you. It makes 0 sense. It just doesn't. I can't defend it. You can poke holes all through every single bit, and I've done it. And somehow, when it first came on, when we first got that aired over here, and I recorded it, 83 or 4, whatever it aired in 83, of course, but whatever. When we got it, I think we got it actually fairly quickly in the States. Right after it was aired over there. I'm not exactly sure how quickly. I can't remember exactly now. The first day I got it, I must have watched it 2 or 3 times, and I've watched it so many times. Seeing those Doctors, I mean, again, I could pick it to pieces, and it makes me so sad that Tom Baker's not in there. Of course, it always makes me wonder how that story would have been with Baker. I mean, he would have overpowered a lot of the story. It needed to be an extra 2 parts, really.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
It was aired as a special here, but it's been split up into parts. But I don't care about any of that because I don't even mind that we have Richard Herndale, of course, because as we know, we couldn't have, unfortunately, the dearly departed William Hartnell. But there's just something so crazy and entertaining about the Doctor meeting his other selves that it's pure, ridiculous fan service, as people like to call it, fun. And it makes, the story makes no sense, but I get to see the Brigadier again. Story makes no sense, but we get to see Sarah again. Mm-hmm. Story makes no sense, but we get to see Susan again. We get to see Troughton and Pertwee together again.
Yep.
3 Doctors just barely missed my list. That's arguably a better story. But I don't know. There was something about this, seeing them all together. So I throw myself on the mercy of the court. This makes no sense that I love this episode, but I love it and can watch it over and over again.
I frankly love the episode. It's one of the few that I haven't held out for on Blu-ray. I went and bought the British DVD ahead of it. Like, in other words, a lot of the classic stuff I'm just watching on BritBox until the Blu-rays come out. But 5 Doctors is actually one that I have on physical disc. And got it from the UK. First of all, there's so much to love about this episode. Most specifically, the fact that the 3rd Doctor finally gets to encounter Cybermen. And on top of that, you have that weird android that shoots spikes and kills Cybermen in like
the
one
Rastan
hit.
Warrior robot.
Yeah, which I thought was great. I was like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever seen. But I only have... I acknowledge everything that you've said about this story, Mike, that is a shortcoming. But I truly only have one complaint with this whole story. Only one. Can you guess what it is?
Tom Baker not being there?
No. As a matter of fact, I've made peace with that because he said he didn't want to do it.
Oh, I know.
What?
No K9 other than one little scene.
You are in the ballpark. And that was a little weird to have them do that, but I get it. They didn't want to have to figure out a way to drag that thing around the moors. No, my one problem with this, and everybody listening, you're going to hear some pithy reasons why I end up with some of my opinions. My one problem with the Five Doctors is that I thought the wardrobe choice for Sarah Jane was deplorable. I was like, who chose that for her? Like, her hair looks great. She looks great because she's Liz Sladen. I'm like, but what did you put her in? That's terrible. I know it was 1983 England. I get it. So I'm sure the fashion over there was just weird, but damn, like, just awful. Just, ugh. So, yeah.
Thank you, by the way, to World Made of Cardboard for the $5 super chat. It says, love the stream. Well, we appreciate that. My phone is at 4% giving out. Must reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. Have a great stream. Thank you so much. I hope we'll see you again sometime. I really appreciate it. We'll be doing more Doctor Who tomorrow. We're celebrating it up with the Global Geek Gang there. So, yeah, well, like I said, there are other logical fallacies you could poke holes in. For example, why does Barusa need to do any of what he is doing if they could offer the Master a completely new regeneration cycle?
Yeah, right? Yeah, I mean...
I need that one explained to me. I love Terrence Dix, I'm just saying.
And that is why you are the Master Whovian, sir. See how you were able to just pull that out right there and be like, I'll get there eventually. I'll get there eventually. But I've got to learn I've got to learn how to make more belts and make more, knives at the anvil and learn more about my Doctor Who craft before I can do what you do.
You already know more than me. And come on now.
BS. BS.
What are we at now? That was 7. So number 6 for you, sir.
Number 6 for me. Okay, so this is going to be my first
cheater.
It's my first of 6 ties. All right.
Okay.
Actually, no, I take that back. There's actually only this one tie, really. The other one I'll explain later. But
I got you.
So I couldn't decide. This is number 6, which will be my 5th modern episode, and I couldn't decide on my number 1 modern episode between 2. So my reflex was School Reunion, because that's the David Tennant episode in the 2nd series where he meets Sarah Jane Smith, who Sarah Jane Smith is my favorite ever. So, of course, when I saw that episode and it was so well done, barring 1 or 2 lines that I'm not even going to try and focus on, I'm just going to ride right past those because that was Davies doing his thing. And, I'm just going to let that go and headcanon that out. But barring that, I thought School Reunion was a brilliant episode. It was 99% the way to truly tie modern relaunches to classic material. It was just genius, very, very well done, despite the dated Krillitane effects, which, hey.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that they had CGI like that for creatures in 2006, I thought, applaud them for it, on TV, please.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I loved the interaction between Tennant and Anthony Head, who was the villain. I thought that was great. But that whole moment between him and Sarah when she unexpectedly runs into the TARDIS while at night in the school,
beautiful.
And then just gorgeous amount of direction and writing on that one. Davies really knocked it out of the park with that. But I
love it. I love this episode.
Yeah, it's such a good episode, and it really is my number 1. But I couldn't walk away without also mentioning, and because K9 comes back too. I mean, no stone was left unturned in this episode. She even says, I don't remember exactly what the line is, but she responds with, well, it's not exactly like he's a mini Metro, which is the car she drives in K9 and Company. So there's all of these little references to her relationship with K9 and all the adventures that they've been on. But I also couldn't get out of this one without cheating, because my other favorite episode that truly does tie for number 1 in the modern era is Partners in Crime, which is when Donna comes back.
Is that a tie for number 6 then?
Tie for number 6, yeah. Tie for number 1 modern, tie for number 6 of the list. So
that is a great one.
Partners in Crime is easily the truly funniest episode and delightful episode in the entire modern Doctor Who pantheon.
A lot of fun.
Great way to bring back an unexpected companion. Great way to establish that relationship very firmly, and how the tone of that episode is going to go. Notice how all the results there, when you pulled it up, are the window scene. The scene where they're trying to communicate without speaking. Just gold.
Oh yeah,
Jerry.
that's true.
It's gold.
That was gold. That was fantastic. I love
gold.
Donna.
Yeah. So yeah, Bobby, shit. I know you're bringing up Blink. I will wait to see what Mike has on his list, and then I'll comment on that. But I loved this episode so much, and it also especially everything that she establishes with her it's her grandfather, right? It's not her father; it's her grandfather. Is that right?
Yes, her grandfather.
Yeah,
yes.
Who's always.
I love that. Bernard Cribbins.
Yes, Bernard Cribbins. Yeah, great actor. And the way that they have their relationship, which then threads through the rest of this series. Just, I can't say enough good things about this one or School Reunion. So because number 6 was the last entry for modern for me in this list, I just had to bring them both up. So apologies. So
no, look. If I did a modern list, by the way, Bobby Blink would be on it for sure. Mm-hmm. Not spoiler. So it's number 6. You are number 6. My number 6 is the Deadly Assassin.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to the slightly dangerous, but really not such a bad guy assassin. Mm-hmm. The like moderately, deadly. Not really so much deadly, but kind of a dangerous assassin. And I mean, not all that dangerous. Sort of a risky assassin. I don't know. Robert Holmes, what a great writer. The Deadly Assassin, the first Doctor Who story that has no companion, of course, coming right after the wonderful episode Hand of Fear, which he says goodbye to Sarah Jane in that horribly sad way. And then he goes on our first chance, first him going to Gallifrey and having an adventure on Gallifrey. The first adventure really on Gallifrey. Yes, I know he was there in the War Games. Tom at his finest. I mean, again, we only get to see the Peter Pratt master, so he's behind a mask and all that kind of stuff. But we still get the master back. After unfortunately, losing, because of what happened to Roger Delgado in real life, we couldn't get the master back. But we get the Doctor versus the Master on Gallifrey, and the stakes are just all of existence. I know it's a silly title, The Deadly Assassin, as opposed to, but still, I love it. This is has always been one of my favorites. I could probably arguably make it higher. Tom is just absolutely brilliant in this one. Even the stuff in the quote unquote the Matrix. I wonder where the Wachowski brothers watched Doctor Who. I bet they did. Even that fight in the Matrix, I thought was it may have gone on a little bit, but still, I don't mind that too much. But the stuff on Gallifrey is just brilliant and beautiful in terms of his performance, anyway. So I've always loved this one. Getting a chance, our first real big good look at Gallifrey. What it's like, and so Deadly Assassin. I love
Very interesting that you bring this one up in the same slot that I brought up School Reunion, because I've always had a theory that there is a machete order to Doctor Who, that you can actually follow Doctor Who through just watching Sarah Jane Smith and only her appearances, and in doing so, it completely recouches a lot of the story without breaking it. In other words, it doesn't change anything, but it puts it in a new perspective. So, for example, if you start with the Time Warrior, she shows up, she introduces herself to John Pertwee, she figures out, and us through her, who the Doctor is, what's he all about. Then transitions over to Tom Baker after a number of episodes. Then you go through the Sarah Jane era there. Then she leaves the TARDIS because he gets the signal that he has to go back to Gallifrey and he can't take her with him. Well, if you literally don't watch The Deadly Assassin after that, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying in machete order, if you jump to K9 and Company and then go through the Big Finish audios and then go to School Reunion, the first thing that she says to David Tennant is, I thought you died. You left and never came back, and I thought you died. And if you think about that from the perspective of what happened with the Deadly Assassin and how vague Tennant's stuff is in response to her, you can almost, it's a very weird machete order, but it's a very interesting way to view the series. Anyway, I'll shut up about it.
Yeah, no, remember he even says they didn't allow outsiders on Gallifrey in those days?
Right.
He had to go back to Gallifrey. They've sort of mentioned it.
Yep. It's a really interesting thing because, the Deadly Assassin was an episode where his life was in danger, and if he never got in contact with Sarah again after that, her line, I thought you died, you left, and it's all very relevant. And yet Tennant is talking about that war, and she doesn't know he's talking about the war. She thinks he's talking about whatever happened to him in this episode, which she doesn't even.
That's a good point.
Yeah, she's not even privy to that. So
that's actually a good point. Again, in this episode, like I said, we get a really good look at Gallifrey more than we get in War Games or the Three Doctors.
Mm-hmm.
We get a little, not that much of his past, because we don't need that much of his past, but we do get to meet Barusa, and we get Barusa a lot more in Invasion of Time, an episode that I don't like quite as much as this, but I really do like a lot of the Gallifrey stuff on that one. But yes, getting to see more of the Time Lords, getting to see the Master come back. Just a fun and just really I just always love this episode, always have. Number 5, man.
My number 5. Okay, so we're in my classic front half of the list now. So it's very hard for me to not include those Tom Bakers, which is why I said that I screwed up by only doing 10 slots. My fault. Sorry,
we'll talk about a bunch of more episodes after this, so don't worry about that.
So I have my intellectual slotting of it, which is also an episode I love. And then I've also got a Tom Baker episode, which we can then talk about later, that I'll just mention off the cuff. So my number 5 is Caves of Androzani. And
oh my, I love it. We might hear from that one again.
Yeah. And the reason that I love this one so much is simply, and I say simply, one, the story's great, the writing's excellent. There are very few Doctor Who episodes in the classic era. So many of them are well written, and so many of them have tension, but not tension like this. Not tension where, hey, guess what? You guys have been breathing in this disease the whole time, and you're probably not going to make it out of here alive. And even if you do find the antidote, you've only got enough for one person. And I mean, it's such a unexpectedly brutal yet great episode, because Perry barely knows this guy that she's now traveling around with. She's only been on one prior story with him, and now she's literally, at death's door on an alien world. And if we were doing the list, I would probably put this in there as my number 1 Doctor Who exit of all time, my number 1 last episode of a Doctor.
Yeah.
Just so well done. And Peter Davison himself even said, he felt like throughout his run, he had never quite figured out his own performance as the Doctor internally. And in this one, he really felt like he'd finally figured it out. And that's when he realized, and I'm doing my last one. So that's this whole thing, but it can't be overstated how good this one is.
Well, without spoiling it too much, we could hear from it again. Let's put it like that. This episode, I'll let you know.
Well, I feel, then I feel bad, because if I'd known if I'd known that, I would have gone with my Baker pick.
No, go with that. We can do that too if you want.
Which was, we can talk about it afterwards too, but my backslash here is City of Death. So.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
I got you. My number 5 is The Curse of Fenric.
Oh, yeah.
I just, again, and we all know what a big Ace fan I am, or for those who don't know, I love Ace. I really do. I guess one of the reasons I love the McCoy era so much, even though they did say some commie crap in this one, Damn Pinkos. I'm kidding. That the comic character. It's a joke, everybody. I'm kidding. Not really. But anyway. Man, I had this one. I have this DVD.
Nice.
But I love this episode because the Hemivores and stuff like that. But this was, of course, the culmination of the Ace saga. Really, it was really the end of her interesting story arc, and it was a great journey for her, and it just when we find out. I don't know, it's spooky. This episode is spooky. It brings back some of the old horror elements of some of the old Doctor Who. It almost in some ways, felt like a Hinchcliffe episode.
Yeah.
In a sense, I think it did out there. And because you are, of course, a big time military history aficionado and of that era and all that stuff like that. So I don't know what you thought about how it handled the era or whatever with this taking place at the time frame that it does. But I found that to be a fascinating setting.
I think anytime Doctor Who is able to go back to the war, they have an easier time with it because they are shooting in England where all that stuff still exists, and especially even close to 40 years ago now, a lot more of that stuff was still right at their fingertips and able to be used, and so I think it can be, aside from obviously seeing it shot on video cameras, if it had been shot on film, the illusion might have even been complete. But other than the video camera quality itself, everything else is spot on. I see very little in those episodes that is an anachronistic tell to the modern period, because England is just so good at there's so much opportunity for great locations to take a production back to that time period in England. So yeah.
Well, and thing about this era for me is about this episode again, as I mentioned earlier, we're in the God era. In other words, when we thought, what is the Doctor? He's a little bit more than that. I mean, hell, basically we find out he somewhere at the beginning of time, he got in a contest with Evil Incarnate and imprisoned it in a flask. Jesus Christ. But it works somehow. I love it. It sounds preposterous, I suppose, but what is the Doctor? I mean, this Fenric just means basically evil.
Yeah.
And we don't know. He played a contest where he carved chess pieces from bones in a desert. And what the hell? I mean, how? I don't know. But that added even more to the mystery of the Doctor. We only get one more episode. This is the second to last episode of the original 26-year run. But it was kind of, wow, when you build up that much mystery, and it was just, I don't know, something about that. There was just, I don't know. I really loved it. And I love, like, at the end of episode 3 or whatever, when Dr. Judson becomes possessed with Fenric, and then you see this look on him, and he goes, so we play the contest again, Time Lord.
Yeah.
Whoa. Then we'll never know. We'll never know what the hell that they were trying to say with that episode or those episodes. But I don't know. It's frustrating in a sense, but it was really, really well done. It was mysterious. It was moody. It was spooky. And again, I just love Ace, and I love McCoy. Underrated as a very Troughton-esque, I always thought.
Yes. Yes.
So let's see. Number 4, sir.
My number 4, I was originally going to say Tomb of the Cybermen.
Love it.
Because of the production value, the spookiness, the creepiness, the epic kind of almost Metropolis level. When I say Metropolis, I mean the German silent film kind of look that it had to it.
Yes.
I thought it was expertly done. However, I decided not to do Tomb of the Cybermen, only because I've been indecisive in this list. Instead, and again, I take nothing away from Tomb of the Cybermen. It was almost my number 4. Warrior's Gate.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, and I'll tell you why. I know
Deep Space Saga.
Yes, when I was combing through my list of favorites, Warrior's Gate was one that almost got lost in the deck. It got lost in the shuffle, but I have to put it on my list because that was an episode where the production design was so fascinating, and the way that they did this void that they were in and told this story about being stuck between E space and N space, and you know what was stuck there that was trying to subsist and survive those characters and everything they were encountering. The entire look of the episode kept me it got me to sit up in my seat, and it kept me engaged the whole time. And again, it was all because of the way they had scripted it and then executed on that script. The way they did the voids, the way they did the solitary half chunks of buildings within the voids, and I just thought the whole look of the episode and the story they built around it was really compelling for me. And it was unlike anything else I've ever seen in Who before or since. I just really, really like Warriors Gate. And again, taking nothing away Phantom Outsider for Tomb of the Cybermen. It's just a matter of knowing what I know now about the way we do a Doctor Who list show. I will go with Mike's recommendation next time and do 25. All right, guys, I'll do 25. So
it helps a little bit, but yeah, that's cool. No, we're going to talk. We're still going to throw some other ones out there after we get done with the list thingy. And of course, we have to say goodbye to Romana and K9 with this one, though.
Yes. Yep. That's right.
I mean, that was brutal.
It was. But what a fascinating way that I'll never forget. I've only seen the episode like one time, and yet I'll never forget how they did that eerie shot of her following that guy with K9 trailing behind her to leave on their own, and it's like this black and white world around them, and there was something really well done about that whole thing. I really, really have a lot of respect for Warriors Gate. I understand that parts of it don't work in the grand scheme of things. I understand it, okay, but
I got you.
But I find the ambition of that episode so compelling.
Yeah, but you had to be sad to see Romana and K9 go, though, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially when he was just stuck on there with Adric after that. I mean, it's just like, oh god, what a trade up.
Yeah, dump Adric, dude. Jeez. Yeah. You're there. My number. What are we on here?
We're on number 4.
4. My number 4 is Modern Undead. It may come as a shock to no one that I'm a slave to nostalgia sometimes with some of these episodes. And I just love the Brigadier. And you got to understand something. When we first got this episode, when, again, I don't think we were getting them first run, like I said, in terms of, in other words, they would run on the BBC, then maybe a year or so later we would get them over here, or something along those lines, right? But when we first got this episode around, I guess, I want to say 82, 83, somewhere up in there, we had not seen the Brigadier other than reruns. The Brigadier was long gone from the show. And I just loved Lethbridge Stewart. And I think it's a brilliant, wonderful, amazingly fast-moving and fun, entertaining story. And just enhanced all the more by the great Nicholas Courtney, who I was lucky enough to meet at a con once and was a nice fellow. Oh, boy, we got a spammer, folks. If you could knock that for me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And then my wonderful wrenches out there, please. Maybe I can get it.
Oh, wait, hold on. I can... I
think I got it.
Oh, did you get him?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good.
I hope.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep.
Someone did. Someone will get it. We got a bunch of wrenches there. Thanks, Mark. Whoever, or Eric, or whoever got it. I got a lot of wrenches in there, I guess. So, dude, I just, again, I know it started thank you, Tim Hayes. I appreciate that. Thank you all, whoever's handling that, and all my wonderful wrenches out there. This episode just, I was so excited about it. Like I was talking about with the 5 Doctors. I watched it over and over again when I first recorded it off of LPB. And I think I watched it. And of course, it's the best way. This is really one that you can't watch the damn movieized versions of. You got to watch it. I like it chapters anyway. I like it. I like it serialized. I like my Doctor Who serialized, especially Classic Who. That's some fun cliffhangers, but it's just mostly just so. Look, I'm not the biggest Turlough fan, although Mark Strickson is a pretty cool dude. Everything I've read about him.
Yeah, no, Mark. Anyway. Mark Strickson's a very cool guy from everything I've learned as well.
Yeah, cool dude. And of course, we got the Black Guardian. This, of course, continuation from the the Key to Time saga. The Black Guardian is back, played by the magnificent Valentine Dial, and in this led to a trilogy: Modern Undead, Enlightenment, and no Modern Undead, Terminus, and Enlightenment in that order, I believe. And I didn't really care much for Terminus and Enlightenment that much, but Modern Undead started it out very well. It gave us Turlo, sure, but he's still better than Adric. Sorry, guys. I mean, at least he was going to do some mystery to the character, a lot of mystery to the character. And of course, just the two brigadiers. Actually, could have called the episode "The Two Brigadiers." Courtney is just absolutely terrific. I love the scene when he meets the Doctor, and because of his memory messed up, he doesn't know who he is, so the Doctor has to jog his memory, and it has one of those wonderful scenes where he's reminding him, and he's some really nice music when he's remembering all these things. The Doctor's coming back into his memory. A lot of the I don't know stuff going on between Modron's ship and the TARDIS, all the time disparate and all that kind of stuff was fascinating. I think this is just a great, fun story.
This is one that I had to really. I remember seeing this one quite recently, actually, probably within the last year, when I was going through the Davison era on BritBox, and I remember getting to this one, and I watched the whole series, going this. It took me until like the second to last part to finally catch up with the story. I'm gonna have to. I made a note at the time. I was like, I'm gonna have to watch a lot of this one again, because the time displacement part of the plot,
right,
really was a mind twister.
It was weird.
Yeah, until you get to the end. And I remember even looking over at Melinda going, I just don't understand this Modern Undead thing. I'm really having a hard time with this one. I did not hate it or anything like that. I'm not trying to imply that I thought it was bad. No. I simply thought my brain and the way this thing is being woven together, I'm missing something key here. So yeah, but it's very, I remember it. There's a lot that I've seen that I don't quite remember. So
you know how many times I've watched that episode? I've way lost count back. I lost count back in the 80s. I used to watch it over and over again. I just love the brig. And Douglas Courtney was great. What is your number? Where are we at? We're at 4, right? No, we're at 3. Are we at 3?
We are at 3.
Go for 3, buddy.
I am going to go with a Pertwee for my number 3. I'm going to go with Planet of the Daleks.
Oh, wow.
And
nice.
I'll tell there's a few reasons for this. One, because up until this point, I haven't even had an episode with Daleks in it, so I guess it's high time. 2, this is one of the stories that made me very aware of the rich history of Doctor Who's restoration efforts, because the final episode in this story was only preserved as a black and white print, and that's when they discovered how to pull color information out of the black and white transfer to restore the actual colors and not just guess. So that's part of the fascination with this for me. And then lastly, I just have to say that I think this is one of the best dressed moments for Pertwee's Dandy Doctor. I love the whole Purple Rain kind of look that he's got going on. I think he really informed Prince's eventual wardrobe, and I'm not even joking. I'm saluting him sincerely in saying that. I love the setting. I love the production value of this one. I really liked all the side characters, the additional characters. I just thought this was a great classic Who versus Daleks, or Doctor versus Daleks episode. And it had a great combo with Joe Grant and number 3. So
love it. Well, now you make me want to go back and watch this. So it's been a while. Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you, James Salzberg, $2 super chat. I appreciate that. Chat with Wings, 5 rounds rapid. Sergeant Benton. Yes, love it. But yes, this was one of those ones where again he's during the Earthbound era where he goes off messing around with the TARDIS and had one of his off-planet adventures. you know, after being on Earth for so long. So yes, love it. Let's see here. Where are we at? 3. Well, you think I would remember at one point. No, we're at 3. Okay. Well, why don't we stay with the Pertwee era? How about that?
Oh, yeah.
My number 3 is Terra of the Autons.
Oh, yeah.
Good God. I another one of those I've watched so many times. It's ridiculous. The first story with the great Roger Delgado as the Master. I love Anthony Ainley, folks. I really do. But Roger is my favorite. And I just, this episode is, I mean, it's a sequel to Spearheads from Space, Pertwee's first episode. But I think it's even better with the Nestine intelligence and the Autons than that one, in my opinion. All, of course, admittedly, due to the fencing between, which was wonderful. The Doctor 3 and the Master by Delgado. What a pair! What a duo! I just love it. Love it. In this, as much as I love a lot of the ones with there's so many great ones with Delgado. I love the Demons that barely missed my list. There were a few of them. This is my favorite. Although Sea Devils was a great one too. There's so many great ones with Delgado. He's just perfect. I mean, I love that scene. I love it when he always just says, "I am the Master, and you will obey me."
Yes, yes, yes.
And first Joe Grant also.
Yep.
And so
isn't that interesting that Joe Grant's first episode was Terror of the Autons? Pertwee's first episode dealt with the Autons.
Yes.
Spearhead from Space. And then Eccleston's first episode dealt with the Autons.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Rose, for that matter. So
that's true. And other than that, you didn't see Autons as much.
Right, yeah.
They were not used that much, really.
That is,
but I actually like them.
Yeah, I like them a lot too. I like the fact that their understatedness makes them super creepy.
Yes,
and also easy to realize on camera, which is also helpful.
Absolutely. So I've always loved this one. I watch it quite often. It's just so much fun. Your number 2, sir.
My number 2. Okay, so this really was a fight with me in my brain. My number 2 was either it was a fight between Genesis of the Daleks and Pyramids of Mars. Uh-huh. And how do you choose between two greats like that?
Wow.
So I went with Genesis of the Daleks because I couldn't leave it out of a list like this. And I know that some people have had like a postmodern backlash to Genesis of the Daleks and said, "Oh, it's overrated and it's always on the list." But as you've mentioned earlier, I'm a huge history buff, and especially World War II. And this was another one, much like Warrior's Gate, that in its own way made me sit up in my chair and really watch. Like I was watching them all, but this one really got my attention. What with, the amazing performance of Davros and the way that they finally realized the Daleks in this kind of gunmetal color, and the claustrophobic sets and the moral dilemma and the overt, fascist warning of the thing. It was a cautionary tale about fascism. And
yes,
I just thought it was a brilliant piece of science fiction. And also the fact that it had these little things that I didn't know were going to pay off decades later. Specifically, it took my second viewing to make me realize it, but Sarah Jane is the first person to ever see Davros of the three heroes. And it's like, whoa, like,
yeah.
And then, when you get to, and I'm not trying to qualify the quality of the plot that I'm about to mention, but in the fourth series finale of the Davies Tennant era, she has that moment with Davros where he recognizes her.
Yeah.
And it's this weird mirroring effect where she was haunted by seeing him the first time and he didn't even know she was standing there. And then all of a sudden he's seeing her for the first time in forever, never thinking he would ever see her again. and it was just brilliant. It was just a brilliant mirroring effect of those two moments.
I love that.
Yeah. So
yeah, I loved it.
mhm.
Well, dude, that's like I told you, it's the first one I ever saw.
Yeah.
Again, you know what's really fascinating about what you just said to me though is I do love this episode. I'm probably going to get taken to the woodshed for this, but with the similar dilemma, I went the completely other way because my number two, right?
Yeah.
Is the Pyramids of Mars.
Yeah, so I get to talk about it anyway. All right.
That's right.
Here we go.
Oh, I wouldn't let you miss out because good God, this is a masterpiece to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go for it, sir.
No, look, please, man. I want to talk to you about this one. I want to talk to you about this one for a while. I can't put my finger on what I love most about the episode because I love mostly just about everything from what a great villain Sutek is. Well, there's so many things, but I think probably if I had to nail it down, I love that opening scene. By the way, when he says, "I'm not a human being. I'm a Time Lord. I walk in eternity." When he's having that, when Sarah is wearing that dress that Victoria used to wear.
Yes.
They reference Victoria. I think what I love the most about it is the banter and the relationship between. It's great in all of them. I mean, she's great when she's with Pertwee too, but she's great even more so with Baker, and never more so in this episode. Is there something about the way they're written, the way they play off of each other in this one, like stuff like when she has him wrapped up as the mummy, for example. He goes, "Well, how do I look? Just must have been a nasty accident. Don't provoke me."
Right.
So much wonderful interaction between the two. This is truly one of those ones where, I mean, you don't know how is he going to defeat this being is truly extraordinarily powerful. I don't know. It's just one I've watched a hell of a lot. Michael Sheard again, by the way. I just adore it, man. So go for it. I want to hear what you think about this episode.
I love this episode for so many reasons. One, the fact that it is a Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith episode doesn't hurt. Two, the setting and the time period. So it's that turn of the century, height of the British, archaeological Egyptology push. And I love that era. I love everything about, learning about that era. The fact that he's having to deal with a, immortal Egyptian god. It's just such a cool idea for a plot. And then, of course, seeing all the period settings and the extensive use of outdoor locations around the manor house. And there's just something, how do I put it? There's something very, it speaks to my interest in my wheelhouse. And also Tom Baker's costume, his outfit really fits in the time period for this episode. It all works together. I mean, I almost feel like they put Sarah in that dress just to make sure that she blended in a little better with the time period they were in, because they knew that Tom Baker could just step out of the TARDIS and he'd work just fine. Like, he'd work too well almost in that time period. Sutek being a great villain, the great monologues that he has in it, or dialogue, I should say. Although I think he does have one or two monologues.
Yes.
And just how sinister and dangerous he is. I just love so much about this episode. I'm still so mad that this episode is not yet on Blu-ray. I keep waiting for this season to come out, and they're like, "No, we keep dancing around this season," and I'm like, "Damn you, damn you!"
Yes.
so yeah, I'm really pining for this particular season to finally make it to Blu-ray.
Oh, I hope soon, man. I hope soon. Yeah, I just absolutely love this one. It's tough. This list is so tough to make, but there's so many great. Remember, everyone, there are hundreds of episodes. It's tough to pick 10, and we'll talk about some others. But now we will go with your number one.
Okay, so initially, my number one was going to be the very first one that I ever saw, which was Ark in Space. And then I thought, no, Mike said that I could pick whatever I wanted, and I shouldn't be worried about what people would think of me. Yeah. Well, what I didn't know as a novice was that one of the ones I really, really like is one that's apparently hated by a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah. and that's
I know it.
That's Planet of Evil.
I knew it. Oh man, yes.
And I'm
Really?
like, why does everybody hate this episode so much?
I don't know. I like it.
It's in the same season as Pyramids of Mars.
Yes.
And it's got some of the best production design of any of the Doctor Who episodes of this era. They actually shot it, in large part on a separate sound stage so that they could recreate the alien world top to bottom, that alien jungle or whatever it was. I love the conflict with the guys who are working the spacecraft. The way that all goes badly at first, and then they require a lot of convincing, but some of the guys can't be convinced. And, there's this nameless evil, and I love this episode. And it also helps because I didn't know why I loved this episode so much at first. Mm-hmm. And then I started learning, because I've been working on this very long-term project to do a Liz Sladen documentary, and I found out coincidence of coincidences, that Liz Sladen said this was the most fun she had. Like, she had fun the entire time she was working on it, but she said this was at the height of her happiness working on the show, and this was her favorite episode to work on, and she has the best memories from it. And I think that comes out in, you were talking about how they played off of each other so well in Pyramids of Mars. Well, this episode is like right up against it. You can see that same exuberance coming through, because it's literally back to back with Pyramids of Mars. They have that same playfulness, that same chemistry, that same sense of fun mixed with that sense of danger. I really love Planet of Evil. I could watch it over and over again. It's just great.
I do. I've always, I did. In fact, a couple of years back, I remember you were talking about this, and you'd mentioned that you really liked it, but you have, as you did here, you prefaced it so many people hate it. I was not aware that it was hated at all. I mean, it's fine if you don't like the episode. I'm just saying, I've never heard of anyone particularly hate or single it out for love, for that matter, ever. I mean, I haven't. So I was interested when you said that.
Yeah, and as Hungry Boy says, it's the cutest outfit for Sarah Jane, which is another great story, because coming off of Terror of the Zygons, the director, producer, not producer was Hinchcliffe, but the director of this one said, "Hey, can we maybe get Liz into something, a little cuter for this episode?" Because I saw the footage from the last episode, and I wasn't real thrilled with the costume they chose for her for that one. I'd like to put her in something else. And Liz Sladen had talked about how and it's not a complaint. Every time she's talked about this in interviews, it's never been a complaint. It's just been an observation. She said it was almost as if they pulled something out of Katie Manning's wardrobe and gave it to me for this, which is kind of fun.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
well,
and
it seems to be a gender. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that, as you know, that happens to be the outfit that my friend customized a Sarah Jane action figure for me in, because he knows how much I love the show.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, but what were you going to say?
I was going to say, it seems to be a generally liked episode around here. I don't think we got anyone who hates it, but
right.
I didn't know that. But you know what? I got to tell you, there've been a lot of times, Michael, where I've heard people from other quote unquote pockets of fandom, like whether I was reading it online or what have you, that are Doctor Who fans, and they would mention an episode as just an example of a really lousy one that they hate. I'm talking even classic, and I go, I must have missed the memo on that one. I thought that one was a good one, or I thought that was okay. I didn't know that was particular. Of course, I got my own,
right,
that I hate, so that's perfectly fine. I mean, whether you hate an episode, that's cool. But I just I never got the memo on that one that was particularly despised. So.
Yeah,
cool. I've always liked it. So
me too. Yeah, I love it. So.
Wow, excellent. Now you make me want to go watch that one again, because it has. I mean, the last time you and I talked about that a couple of years back. I went back and watched it again at that point and liked it. Now I want to go back and watch it again soon, and probably will do me a little rewatching on it.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Well, we've already talked about my number one, and that is, of course, Caves of Androzani.
But I want to hear you talk about it. That's why we're here.
I think this episode is no. We're here to talk to you, man. I could shoot my mouth off on this show any day. I think you touched on a lot of great stuff about it being an amazing exit episode. I think this episode is a masterpiece of drama for a lot of reasons. I think one of the biggest reasons is because we have a time where, obviously a little bit later that when they started interjecting some of the God stuff in McCoy, it was still interesting, but you could see was still a character that was in reasonable threat and bad things could happen to him. And later down, with some of the stuff Moffat did with the character, he made him, in the Matt Smith era, he's got him rebooting the universe out of his companion's mind. I mean, you're getting a little crazy cosmic in some things. This is one where the Doctor completely screwed up by just because you'd always think, and I'm not the biggest fan of realism. I'm not someone who will run around going, oh, that's not realistic. I don't care about that. It's never really a criticism of mine. But sometimes when you take something that is a fantasy concept like Doctor Who and you do something, you play around with it a little bit and you do something kind of out of the box and you put them in a very real type of a situation just to see what would happen. Because just think about it for a minute. You have a man and a woman usually going somewhere, anywhere, to all these strange places, just materializing out of nowhere in space and time. Of course, people are going to go, what the hell are you doing here? They're going to get in crazy situations, and it's going to be dangerous, and no one's going to know them. And it's going to be, he always gets in danger. There's nothing new about that. But one day it's going to blow up in your face, and and he was dead. If Cyrus Jack doesn't pull him out of there with the fake androids, he's dead. He is by firing squad. Now, he might regenerate and they'll keep shooting him. I don't know. But Perry is dead. He did not. Now, you can make the case that since the androids were replaced them in the first episode before they were shot in the that maybe the Doctor would have thought of something, but he didn't. He got his ass saved by Jet. Now, what do you have? I don't know. It's the Doctor. Or would the Time Lords have come along and said, hey, you're about to get yourself killed, stupid. Let's pull him out of here. I don't know, but they were dead meat. And so the Doctor really is up against it. He makes a lot of them. He gets them in so much trouble that he's just so razor thin, the margin he escapes in this one. And it's a real jeopardy to the story that you've really it's almost a camp level to the jeopardy sometimes. And we like that about the Doctor Who. It's not to be taken perfectly seriously all the time. But in this case, this was one like, whoa, and this is really comes close to the brink. You have a brilliant performance by this character, Michael. Jason, I think I can't remember the name. The guy, no, not Jason. That's the value I'm thinking of. The guy who plays Cyrus Jack, he's brilliant. That Phantom of the Opera type element to the story. This is, Androzani. This whole thing is I'm not even a big fan of the grim and the gritty, but somehow sticking the Doctor in that. I love his outfit, but sticking him in that situation, and in a situation that is not just normal, not just fighting Daleks and Cybermen and Autons. It's just dealing with nasty people in a little war, and having him. It's just such an off the wall type of story for Doctor Who, and yet it works so well. And then he gets out at the very end, but man, he doesn't get out without severe consequences, having to die and. Doesn't even maybe look. He says, "I might regenerate. I don't even know." And it's a brilliant exit story. To me, I think it's the best of the exit stories. It's probably some of the best writing you're ever going to see on any Doctor Who. Christopher Gable, thank you, Matthew Pounder. I appreciate that. That was his name. All along the lines, everyone's brilliant in the episode. You can even forgive the silly monster, which was budget. What are you going to do? But at least the magma creature, even though it looked terrible, fits into the story well. I just think it's not the kind of story I would want Doctor Who to be every week, but it worked in this one. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't have this level of drama all the time. Otherwise you talk about just burning everybody out into the point that their brain just transitions over to white noise just to survive. I mean, you have to dole this out in doses like this episode.
Yeah. I think that's my favorite regeneration scene too. Mm-hmm. I love the Tom Baker one. But I think I like this one better. Somehow the way they did it and everything. And again, Davies with the Doctor becoming the Phoenix and blasting out cosmic energy all over the place really got on my nerves. This one's a little bit more. Why would I don't know. I don't want to get started on that, I guess. But I know part of that was the time vortex. But this one's just. Back then he just regenerated and he didn't blast people. You didn't feel like you were going to get hit by like a cosmic rays if you were standing next to him regenerating. So I thought that was a good scene.
Yeah.
Even a cool thing when Colin Baker sits up and says, "Change, my dear," and it seems on a moment too soon.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think the only mistake they made was the episode after this, which was letting him have his first episode at the end. Yeah, Twin Dilemma at the end of this season, and then having that huge, hiatus until the beginning of his first official season. It's like, guys, you should have just started his season with Twin Dilemma, not let everybody form opinions about him with only one episode. Like that was, but that's not Cave of Androzani's fault, of course. That's
no, not. Yeah, so I love this one, and I think maybe we should talk about some of the ones that got away, because there are a lot of episodes. I mean, I don't know if you have any.
I do.
Name off.
Yeah,
good, go for it.
What
we'll do you want to do it like in just a no particular order thing? Just name some episodes that we love.
Yep. So one of the ones was City of Death.
Oh my God, it killed me to leave that one off, dude.
Yeah, and the only reason I left it off was because I couldn't. I realized I'd screwed up and had 10 slots, but also because my criticism of City of Death is simply that it often plays like a Paris tourist film. Like it's like, come visit Paris. Like, look, we're walking around Paris again. But once they get into character stuff, it's great. Like it fires on all cylinders.
It's very entertaining.
Yeah. And then another one, of course, that I mentioned earlier was Tomb of the Cybermen, which I thought that was one of the best. I'm so glad. I feel so grateful that was one of the lost episodes that was found. I'm glad they found that one and saved it. Another one, oddly, that I wanted to bring up and didn't was Androids of Terra.
Oh yeah.
This was my Mary Tam favorite episode.
I love her.
And what made me think of it was Planet of the Daleks, because in Planet of the Daleks and Androids of Terra, you've got these characters, the Doctor in Planet of the Daleks and Romana, both rocking purple outfits. So
nice.
In Androids of Terra, I know it's a silly reason to bring. It's like, I loved her outfit. That's why no, it's not just that. I like the story too. The story's really good. But that was Mary Tam's one opportunity. She said, "Can I please design my own costume for this?" And they were like, "Sure," because she felt like legitimately she was a Time Lord too, and so she would have her own eccentric wardrobe. And I'm like, man, why didn't they give her that signature outfit for the rest of her time on the show? Like, I think that would have been great. And then I talked a little bit about Ark in Space. It is one of my favorites. I love the trio of Harry, Sarah, and the Doctor. I love the set of that Ark space station. I think it looks fantastic. And I love the suspense. And again, I've said this before, I did not know what the episode was about when I picked it. I picked it because of three elements. It had Tom Baker in it, who I recognized because he was wearing a fedora, and I love fedoras. Any hero with a hat is a plus. And then also because it had the word Ark in it, which I recognized. So I was like, oh, there's a guy with a brown hat, and it's something to do with an Ark. I'll watch it. But what I didn't know was that it centered on this giant insect race, this giant bug race.
The Weirin.
The Weirin. And that was a bad call on my part, because I really hate bugs. Like, I don't want them to die. I just want them to leave me alone and stay 1,000 miles away from me. And so bugs like that, I was like, oh, but it made it more effective, because it meant that it was genuinely creepy and scary for me to watch.
Yes.
And so that's what makes it, such a great episode. And then I have a few more honorable mentions here, and then I'll turn over.
Sure, no, go for it, man.
Okay. Android Invasion. I really enjoyed that one a lot. I loved the whole
excellent.
The whole idea that you don't know in this town who's real and who's not. And I thought that was just a great episode, and I liked the straightforward plotting of it. Also, the return of Unit was nice. That's always nice. This is one that I found out, like Planet of Evil, a lot of people don't like this next one. And I liked it. And I was like, oh, people hate this one. Huh. And that's Invasion of Time.
I love it. Are you kidding me?
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not alone.
It's close to my top 25, or if I remember right. It's 6-parters. It's weird how it kind of has the structure in terms of starting out with the Vardens, and then we find out it's the Santarans. Man, there's so much great Gallifrey stuff there.
Yeah.
People like to say they padded a lot of time by having the chase through the TARDIS, but it's kind of funny seeing the TARDIS going that deep. And Barusa and all that stuff. I love that episode. It's got a very sad ending.
Yeah, it's a great, great story, and I really think it's underrated in some circles. I should say.
Agreed.
Time Warrior. I got to bring up Time Warrior, Sarah Jane's first episode, but also the first appearance of the Santarans, and just a really strong episode with a great setting because a lot of it is location shooting. In a medieval time period, and it looks really good. And also, we get the inclusion of Jeremy Bulloch, aka Boba Fett, as a medieval archer fighter character, which is always great. And then, what's going on here? What? Oh, good Lord. And sorry. And then this is a twofer, but it's related because I didn't know how else to couch it.
Sure.
The Peladon saga, I think, is really good. The two Peladon. I really like that 2-parter. They fit together well, and I don't know. There's just something about him coming back to that location in that following season that I thought was a really smart move by the writers, and following up with that society. And because it's Doctor Who, I can never.
I like those.
Yeah, I can. I know that the one alien with the big eye kind of looks like some kind of phallus or sex toy, but that's only something that you'll see if you're super jaded when you're watching the show.
Of course.
And then lastly, and this is Doctor Who adjacent, all right, but it's in the classic era, and I'll defend it to the death. Is Canine and Company.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I watched Girl's Best Friend, and I know that it's got problems, but I don't see any problems that are any worse than some of the problems I've seen in some classic Doctor Who episodes. I just kind of watch it and go, yeah, I can watch this. I like it. So, yeah.
I like it too. Absolutely. Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time though. I'm sure I have it somewhere.
I can fix that for you.
I think I have it somewhere, but I don't remember. Isn't it one of the sets?
Yeah, it's in the set with
which one on the Blu-ray sets?
Yeah, no. It's on a Blu-ray set. Yeah, it's on Baker's Last
season.
Yeah.
I think I have that one. I think I have one Legopolis. Oh, I don't know. I may have that one. I have to check. But anyway, no, dude. Those are great ones. There's so many great ones, and there's so many great ones that when you only do 10, that I'm glad you named those. I'm going to name a few. It may be some of the ones you named, just to throw them out there. We don't have to spend a lot of time on them, but they need mentioning. And believe me, folks, they're just as easily. Some of these could just have easily been in my top 10. They're definitely my top 25. I don't have any kind of order to these. These are just episodes that I love, and I want to bounce some of them off of Michael. You mentioned to him with the Cybermen. Of course, it's great. In fact, you know what? Why don't we do it we'll kind of just run all over the place. One that killed me to leave out. These are ones that it's brutal leaving them off of any list. So I love them just as on the same kind of level that I love my top 10 The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances.
Oh, yeah.
Are you remember me? First Captain Jack. Brilliant, scary ass story. I love it.
Yes.
I really enjoyed the Doctor Dances, the second part. When just this once, everybody lives. I mean, Eccleston is just terrific in this episode.
Yep.
And then, Father's Day was a really touching episode that I truly loved. As a father, I guess something just kind of got to me, The Silver Nemesis, the God.
Oh, yeah.
The 25th anniversary story of the Cybermen.
Do you know, I found out Silver Nemesis is one of those ones I found out that a lot of people don't like.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
He's fighting neo Yahtzees and Cybermen and Lady Pinchford, who knows who he is. I love the scene at the end when they're confronted by the cyber leader, and she's there's the Nemesis statue there. She goes, "I know who you are. I'll tell you your secrets." She goes, "Better I'll tell them." And the Cybermen don't care exactly. She looks at him. She goes, "I know who the Doctor is. He's a Time Lord." So that's what Ace said. And she's shaking her head. No, he's more than that. And she says, "Doctor Who." You know who he is? Great mystery stuff that we'll never know about, because he's the one. Much like you have that episode back to back with Remembrance of the Daleks, which he did the same thing with the Hand of Omega. He took that from Gallifrey, and he took the Silver Nemesis statue from Gallifrey. He launched both of them. Like, who the hell is that? Again, I love that mystery stuff. I know it's crazy. Another one I love is Castrovalva.
Yes,
a highly underrated, great fun episode where seeing Peter Davison getting used to his new Doctor, which I truly was. What a performance! I love the scene early on. I remember, I think it was part 1 or 2, where he's kind of messed up, as you know, but he's going through the pronounced personalities of the other doctors. When he tells Adric, "Tell me, boy, what would you do if you were me? Huh? Perhaps I should ask, what would I do if I were me?" And he walks down the corridor. Goes, "Not far now, Brigadier. If the Ice Warriors don't get there first." I mean, he's lapsing into his other personas for some strange reason that makes no sense, but it's fun. So who cares? Love that. Then he decides to dress up in a cricket outfit. Now that meant a lot more to our British friends, but if we didn't know what the hell that was over here, we just thought it kind of looked cool.
Yeah, it was just another eccentric. Anyway. It was the 80s. It was very difficult in the 80s to dress a character in something that we were going to completely discount. I mean, the 80s was pretty open-minded about costuming in entertainment at that point.
Yes, absolutely. Legopolis was a brutal episode, but I like it a lot. I mean, back then it was heartbreaking. And what a bastard the Doctor is when Tegan asks about her auntie, and says, has she seen her auntie? Because he didn't know that that the Master had shrunk her. And he says, "Well, a little of her." Like, whoa, dude.
Right.
I love it. And of course, another Tom Baker one I love is, "Let the talons of Wing Chiang shred your flesh." I know you're not supposed to like that one, but I love it. You mentioned Invasion of Time. Speaking of the word invasion, one of my favorite Troughton's episodes is The Invasion. Have you watched that one?
Say that title, something invasion. I missed the middle word.
Speaking of Invasion of Time, there's an episode called The Invasion, Troughton 8-parter, which I love. It might be my favorite Patrick Troughton episode.
Yeah, I have heard about that episode. I freely admit that we have just embarked on a Doctor Who journey for Retroblasting. I'm editing the episodes now, and we started with Unearthly Child, and then we jumped. We're doing a leapfrog thing where we're going Unearthly. We're doing Unearthly Child, then we did Rose, then we're going to go back and do the next Hartnell, then we're going to do the next Eccleston. So it's going to be that kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm getting there. I've seen a number of Troughtons. Like I've seen Power of the Daleks, and I've seen Tomb of the Cybermen, and I've seen quite a few of them, but I have not seen that one yet.
Okay, well, that's one of my favorites. It's an 8-parter now, and we have there was a time I remember when I first got back in the 90s. I got the VHS tape that has there were like 2 episodes gone, as you know.
Yep.
With Nicholas Courtney doing what they called linking, telling you what happened in the episodes that you can't watch, and of course later,
right?
I still have that tape somewhere, but later, of course, the animated. The ones that are missing now. And I have a pretty nice. There's no Blu-ray of it, I don't think, but I have a pretty nice, copy of it. So, anyway, that's one I love. Couple of the other ones. No, we didn't talk about Blink. You can't not talk about Blink, can you?
We can talk about Blink. I don't. I like the episode just fine. The reason I don't have it on a list, and again, I would have to go back and watch it again. Let me preface it by saying this. At the time that I watched it, Melinda really, really enjoyed that one. And I did not enjoy it, but I saw a big hole in the story. And it had to do with once you know the ending, again, I explained it really well at the time to Melinda, and now I can't remember for the life of me what it was, but it turned me away from having the rose-colored glasses about Blink that everybody else does, because it's something to do with her, being told to duck at the very beginning because the rock comes through the window. It's tied to that. There's something about that where once I got to the ending, I was like, why the heck did they have to go through all this rigmarole? There was like this shortcut that could have stopped this whole plot from ever happening. And I'm like, this is all just, and that was the beginning. I should have known at that point, and I didn't, because we hadn't gotten to the Matt Smith stuff yet. I didn't realize that Moffat wrote that episode, nor did I know the monster that Moffat would become when he became showrunner. But if you watch Blink, it's like, Blink is very good. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, there is something wrong with it, but what I mean is, it's not like what Moffat does later.
It's still entertaining is what you mean.
It's very entertaining, and it is a restrained form of Moffat, but there is still that Moffat problem in it. And I noticed it right away, and I was like, "Ugh." And so that's why.
No, look, I like it a lot too, but like Moffat's bad with plot holes, and I think I like what Mark D with the C says here. He says Blink is Doctor Who light episode, but it is very entertaining, and he says it's good to show that to people that don't know the show. Actually, I think that's a good lure type of an episode, in the sense like you can show someone. I think it's brilliant in the sense that it's very moody, very spooky, and if you don't think of that plot point you're talking about, it can scare the crap out of you. And I think that's kind of, it has a good punch that it comes with that most people, it's very effective when they first see it, especially when you first see it. So I hear you. Absolutely. I loved, I loved Planet of the Spiders. That's one of the exit episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, just a huge fan of that one. And, I also loved the Three Doctors. That barely missed my list. You could say what you want about the quote unquote as the Omega's minions, the organism things as they were calling them.
Right.
How terrible they look.
Yeah.
If you don't let that bother you, that's a great story. I mean, it's just pure fun. The interactions between Pertwee and Troughton are just some of the most delightful things that you'll ever in any episode you'll ever see, in my opinion. So I love that one. I love the Three Doctors. Again, just the anniversary thing. Again, Brain of Morbius is an interesting episode to me because Robert Holmes hated it and took his name off of it. Had a big fight with Terrence Dicks over it, and that's why you'll see that it's written by Robin Bland. That's the name he chose. That's nobody. That's But I thought that I always liked that as a kid. I always thought that was as a young man. I always thought that was a spooky, fun episode.
Yeah, and you can see why Philip Hinchcliffe at the time got in trouble with Whitehouse over that one, Mary Whitehouse or whatever her name was. Yeah,
you remember Mary Whitehouse? She was really pissed at him for Deadly Assassin.
Yeah, but that headless monster in Brain of Morbius didn't help his case either. Yeah. And again, I love the episode. I think she was being completely ridiculous about her whole crusade. But Brain of Morbius is definitely one of the I guess I would say it's one of the Hinchcliffiest Hinchcliffe episodes in his run. Yeah.
You mentioned the really entertaining City of Death by the great Douglas Adams. He also wrote probably one that I'm ashamed of it not being in my top 10. It would have been like number 11. And that's The Pirate Planet, which was the second part of the Key to Time saga. The Pirate Planet is right up there, if not above, City of Death for me in terms of a laugh out loud funny episode that also has some great science fiction concepts.
Yes, and it has Mary Tam in it, which also
has Mary Tam. Oh God, yes, she's amazing. Yes, that episode's just hilarious. And again, I love the captain character. So yeah, that's a wonderful episode in my opinion. Again, there's so many folks you have no idea. As Mark D with the C put in there, 800 something friggin' episodes. Picking that many, I don't know, not 800. That can't be that many. Can there really be? Whoa. You mentioned the Time Warrior. So yeah, I wanted to mention a couple of those, give some mentions to some great episodes. And we pretty much, there are so many others.
Oh yeah, there's almost There's almost 60 years worth of television, and thank God we didn't go into the Big Finish dramas as well. I mean, we'd be
That'd be a dive.
Yeah, that would be a dive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a dive. Now, did you ever? Let's see. Is there like a favorite era if you had to pick one? I mean, obviously we both love classic Who, and for me that's but there's still even eras inside of that. Like you have your Hinchcliffe, your JNT, the Barry Letts, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have, for example, I think the Hinchcliffe era is probably my favorite, but I love the first 3 years, the Earthbound Time Lord thing. I love the unit years.
Yeah.
What is?
I would say that if you had a gun to my head and I had to pick one, then I would say that it was the Hinchcliffe era. Although I don't have any real problems with the era that comes right off of Hinchcliffe, which is Graham Williams. I think that's, for the most part, fine. But if I was allowed to expand, I would expand backwards. I would go back to, the unit era as well. I would anything from Pertwee and that first 3 seasons of Baker, I think is just awesome. 3 or 4 seasons, whatever it is.
Well, no problem, Eric. The spams happen, buddy, but I appreciate that. You all, thanks for helping me with that. I tried to block the user, and I think I already did. Actually, I already did. So again, I don't know if that will help, but yeah, this has been happening a lot lately.
Yeah, we've been getting it too. It's
really?
Something that YouTube has not accounted for. Somebody's figured out a way in, and yeah.
No, but they'll get you if you say something they don't like. But
of course they will. Of course they will. Yeah, it's a huge double standard. But yeah,
Yep. Absolutely. Well, let's see here. Toys, you sir, man, the toys you got now. I'm not putting you on the spot to show them or anything. I'm just saying, what? No, I'm seriously, I'm not. But I'm saying, what are there ones? I mean, because you have just an amazing collection of the Doctor Who toys, and you've been getting them for a couple of years. Are there any that have not done, or that they've done, or maybe I should say that they've done that you want, or that you wish they would do?
Well, I'm holding out right now. They announced that they were finally doing a new First Doctor TARDIS and figure set.
Oh,
so they're bringing that back out, and the TARDIS has been redesigned for that toy to look more accurate to Hartnell's. So I collect all the TARDISes that come out.
Oh wow!
I have all of them so far, all the different variants. So I'm waiting for that one to get that. They just recently came out with action figure sets of the First Doctor and his original companion. Unfortunately, not Susan, but the guy, the teacher.
Oh yeah, Ian.
Ian. And I haven't bothered to pick those up, not because I'm disinterested, but because I'm saving my money for the TARDIS, because I know it's going to be a pain in the butt to get that all the way from England. As far as ones that I wish they would make that they haven't, they just finally started making classic Sarah Jane and Romana 1 and 2, but with each one of those figures, they haven't made a decent Sarah Jane yet. They made a head sculpt, and then they put that head sculpt on recycled bodies from other Doctor Who figures, and then just repaint the clothes and hope it's close enough, which is kind of like wow. They did a great Romana 2 from Destiny of the Daleks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then they made a great Romana 1 from crap. What's it? Hold on, I'm going to look it up. It's the one where she's in the red and black vest.
Would that be Android? No, not Android. Would that be Stones of Blood?
Yes, that's it. I think you're correct. I think that's Stones of Blood.
Just guessing.
Yeah.
There's only so many episodes.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's right. God, it's so hard to remember sometimes. So they made a really great Romana there, but the very first Romana they did was from the pirate planet, but she didn't really look like the pirate. Her head sculpt was fine, but the clothes were just recycled from an older figure and just kind of painted to sort of look like the pirate planet costume. And it was a big mess. So yeah, we're kind of getting hit and miss, but Sarah Jane, we haven't gotten a good one yet. Like they made her head look like Genesis of the Daleks, right? but then they put
Yeah.
that head on a repainted Martha body from the end of the Tenant run in the black. It was the black tactical stuff, and they just repainted it green and camo, which doesn't look anything like Sarah Jane's outfit.
Well,
So
this
then
be
they
the
said,
Romana one you're talking about? Sorry.
no, this is the Sarah. Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
Is this that one you're talking about? Though?
No,
Romana?
the Romana one I'm talking. You talking about the black and red vest? Let me see. If
Oh,
I can
no,
find-
that's different. Never mind. Go ahead. Don't worry about that. Just continue. I'm sorry.
Let's see. No, you're fine. Let's see. Romana 1. Come on. Is it you see Power of Kroll.
Power of Kroll. Yes.
Let's see if that brings up the result that I'm looking for. That's the one. Power of Kroll is the one that they made that they did real well. With the black belted red sort of vest dress thing. But Sarah Jane, so they made a figure for Sarah Jane finally, and they sculpted her face or her head to look like Genesis of the Daleks.
Uh-huh.
They put it on that Martha body and repainted the Martha body to only sort of look like the Genesis of the Daleks outfit, which like it doesn't actually at all look like it. So then they said, well, don't worry, we're coming out with another Sarah Jane. And we were like, okay. And so they came out with Sarah Jane from the Peladon episode that she did.
Monster,
and, yeah. And yet they put the Genesis the Daleks head on it. So there's no change in hairstyle. So it's just like, and also her face sculpt, I don't think looks all that great. Like,
oh my God.
Like the Mary Tam and Lala Ward face sculpts look great for what they are. The Sarah Jane, it's the Liz Sladen is just, it's like, God, can you guys try harder? Like, this is
Jesus.
Yeah.
They're bubbled. By the way, someone asked them, have they done a Bessie toy?
No, not that I know of. Yeah. So
that's a damn shame, huh?
Yeah.
They should do that one.
It is, yeah. Oliver, I already have a sonic screwdriver prop in my collection. I have the official rubber toe replica of the Fourth Doctor's Sonic. So nice. I have that in my collection, yeah.
Yep. I bought the toy one. When we were at a con we were at once. I remember I had to still have that one.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, I love that one. That was when the sonic screwdriver was that. It was a tool. It wasn't a magic wand.
Yes, exactly.
Holy crap! The magic wand. I mean, it was just it became silly, but it was funny. But it was sort of like, Jesus, dude, really? It can do anything.
Yeah, and Daniel, yes, these are character options figures that we are both talking about right now. Yep.
Oh, the Disaster has a custom Bestie. Oh, that's cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, like I had my friend Ben who lives in Cornwall. He was the guy that customized the Planet of Evil Sarah Jane, and then he surprised me with a Canine and Company Sarah Jane, who is based on all the promotional photos of her in the sort of tweed outfit standing next to Canine on the lawn. So I have that one. That's the one where she's wearing kind of like the maroon tie. And that figure is one of my most cherished figures as well.
Nice.
But yeah, like I have all of the what I call color companions. So like I've got Joe Grant and Joe Grant has had like 3 figures, I think. So I've got the different Joe Grants. I've got 2 out of the 3 Perrys. I've got 2 out of the 3 Aces.
Oh, wow.
I've got 2 out of the 3 Leelas. See a trend here? I've got then I've got a lot of the modern characters as well. But I've got Kylie, of course, from Voyage of the Damned. Thank God they made her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a lot of the figures, but sometimes you have to kit bash them together to get the right one. So like,
they don't make it easy.
No, they don't. I wanted a Caves of Androzani Peter Davison.
Oh wow!
But to do that, you have to take one body and then get another head that had a better head sculpt and pop those together, and then you'll have a Caves of Androzani. It's a constant dance.
Didn't they do one of that though? They did one though, right?
They did, but his head sculpt wasn't as nice as an older head sculpt, and so you kind of have to. It's not a problem. It's a boil and pop kind of method. It's just kind of a pain to have to do it.
Yeah.
Did
you ever see that blue Colin Baker one?
Yes, I did. The one from I guess it's based on a
Big Finish thing or whatever.
Yeah, it was either a Big Finish or a comic thing. Yeah,
that used to be at like 20 of them at I remember when it came out at the Toys R Us, and it's never grabbed it.
Oh well, I didn't have that one either. I only have the classic Colin Baker, and then I have the one from Terror of the Vervoids or whatever. When he has the big yellow ribbon tie or whatever it is.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now it's funny you talk. Colin. I love the actor. I mean, I love his version of the Doctor. I think he kind of toned down a little bit. The outfit, people really. You talk about things that are unpopular. Sort of like this is our unpopular opinions phase of the Doctor Who show tonight. Most people generally despise his era. It's not popular, and a lot of it is based on that outfit. And he didn't like the outfit.
Right, he didn't like it either. Yeah, I don't blame him for any of that.
No, it's not his fault. I mean, was it the Master in the Mark of the Ronnie, an episode I liked, when the Master referred to, you can't miss him, he's mean looking, and he wears a vulgarly colored coat.
Yeah.
But for the Twin Dilemma, another one that everyone hates. I mean, I don't know. I think the Twin Dilemma, he really goes crazy, but he kind of pulls it back later, and tries to kill Perry. Remember?
Yep.
But in the Twin Dilemma, it worked for him to wear that crazy outfit because he was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could have toned it down a little bit. John Nathan, yes, Max. That's what he said. Beau Brummel, remember him? Yes. I thought that was why I don't really hate Twin Dilemma like everyone else? Because I thought Colin was pretty funny in that one. I thought
I didn't that's the funny part is that I keep encountering these episodes that everybody has the Doctor Who community has largely rejected or derided, and then I hear all that, and then I watch them and I go, oh really? Because I didn't see what you guys are seeing in it. Like I really don't have a problem. I'll put it this way: the problems they have with Twin Dilemma are not my problems with Twin Dilemma. My problems are far more pedestrian. They have nothing to do with this existential hatred of that one. So
right, yeah. And again, I like the Asmail. So. Well, let's see here. Have you ever gotten any of the old comics of Doctor Who or any of the old magazines or stuff like that?
I have two of the Panini specials and a few random issues of the Marvel or DC comic, whoever published it at the time.
Marvel.
Marvel. But I don't have an extensive collection of them yet.
Yeah. Well, like I said, IDW has been doing it for a while, and I really never got into all those. But there was definitely a certain charm to them when it was. Someone mentioned earlier it was a Marvel Premiere, but for the most part, it was in Doctor Who Weekly, then Doctor Who Monthly magazine.
Yep.
For the longest time. And they did some Titan albums. And they had this. Anyone out there? I want to throw it. This is a big. Does anyone remember Abe Slom Dalek Hunter? Anyone out there? Listen. I'm going to bet you. I'm going to make you a bet right now that somebody in our chat knows it. This I've always learned about my chats. There's somebody you could throw out the most obscure crap out there, and somebody's going to know it.
Yep.
If you need to know it, or if you just want to throw something obscure, see if you're not the only one in the world that knows it. All right, Abe Slom Dak. Whoever gets it first wins a no prize. And if you've ever won a no prize, let me tell you something, folks. It's no prize. Literally not one. So, I don't know, dude. Let's see. Oh, man, look how long I've kept you on, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
We get going and let's see. Nope, no one yet. No one yet? Wow. Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter? No, I know who that is, but no. Abe Slom Dak, Dalek Hunter. Come on. Don't make me disappointed in you guys. Come on, hungry boy. You can do it. One of you guys can do it. I'm going to start crying if one of you guys doesn't get it. One doesn't get it. Okay. Well, anyway. I mean, he's so obscure, yet they referenced him in a Capaldi episode. It was a backup in Doctor Who Monthly. And weekly and monthly. And basically, he was this badass psycho killer guy who lived in the sector of space that if you got caught and got put in, instead of giving you a death sentence,
Uh-huh.
They give you a weapon and they send you to a place that is heavily seated Dalek space. Figure you're not going to last long, but as long as you're there, you go kill as many Daleks as you can. And it was actually a really fun strip back in Doctor Who. And I have the Titan album of it. Come on, someone, don't let me down. Someone, you got to know Abel's on deck. And there was a, let's see. Oh well, you can't win them all. Oh well. What are you gonna do? Come on, guys. Don't let me down. I'm bragging about you. Oh, now I've pissed them off. Now they're mad at me.
That's right. Colin's figure was from Real Time. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. And you know, Colin, of course, is the only. It's funny. He didn't get an end regeneration scene, but but then Sylvester McCoy had to regenerate into himself.
Yes. And Eccleston didn't get to regenerate at all. Like, in other words,
right.
he had an exit, but not an entrance.
Right. You know, the 16-year gap, dude, it was tough. But you know what? You remember how I almost miss this now. I've, of course, gotten all the fights I've gotten in over stuff like, Jar Jar Abrams' filth or Man of Steel and that kind of stuff. I used to get in fights all the time online about the Fox pilot.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you've seen the McGann Fox pilot.
Yes.
Oh boy. I got to be honest with you, man. I do. I hate it. Maybe I don't hate it as much as I used to, but I friggin' hate it.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
The first words coming out of the box is when it's giving you the scroll or whatever it is, telling you what's happening. Basically, the master has been put on trial by the Daleks. Wait. Are you saying the Daleks have a legal system? Well, and the doctor, and they've killed him, and they're sending his remains. They have the doctor taking his remains back to Gallifrey. Wait, the doctor works for the Daleks now. Before you even hear anything, and hearing the music, I think it just comes. That's how the thing opens. I'm like, all right, we're on bad terms right now, folks. Then you have that weird score, which got used to now, but that real opening music by Tony Dow. Yes, that Tony Dow. And the Doctor's in this weird cathedral control room of the TARDIS, the Seventh Doctor. And I'm already so confused. I'm like, what in the hell is this? Now, I'm not alone. Look, McGann's a great actor. But everything is over the top. We used to make jokes before that thing came out, by the way, that if Americans ever got their hands on Doctor Who, oh my God. And, I love us Americans. I happen to be one. I don't want us handling Doctor Who. Of course, right now, it doesn't matter. It could get any worse, but you know what I mean. Back then, we didn't. I would let some of you Brits handle Star Trek before I would let any Americans do Doctor Who. At least that was back then. So we got a hold of it, and everything was over the top and stupid. He walks out of the TARDIS into a hail of bullets.
Yep.
Then he changes into McGann in one of the dumbest regeneration scenes you're ever going to see. And all of a sudden, he's spouting crap like, I'm half human. And the Eye of Harmony is inside the TARDIS, my TARDIS for some reason. Oh, and the Master's Eric Roberts. What? Ugh. That was bad. And they've ignored a lot of it.
Well, haven't they had to because of rights issues?
I don't know. I think they just ignored it because it's dumb.
Well, I know that they can't use his companion in anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Daphne Ashbrook?
Yeah, that's why.
Finish or no?
My understanding is that she hasn't been.
No, yes, you're right. She hasn't been.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I didn't think of that. Oh, well.
Yep.
All I know is all of a sudden he's, like maybe Time Lord's re-experienced puberty in the 8th generation. Of course, I would have wanted to kiss Daphne Ashbrook too, but that's beside the point.
Sure. I also think that since they still had the rights to the Doctor, I'll say once again that they should have had Paul McGann play the part that John Hurt played, because it would have been seamless continuity at that point. And would have given him more screen time. And I laugh at people who have actually told me when I've suggested that. They're like, oh, but I mean, his doctor wouldn't be the type of doctor that would conduct a war. And I'm like, he was in one story. You have no idea what he would have gone through in the intervening years that could, guess what, change and evolve someone's personality and decision making. Okay, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm not exactly the same person I was 15 years ago or 20 years ago. Like, it's funny to me how they just pigeonhole McGann in that one story, and then they can't think of him in any other way. And it's like,
but yeah, it's a damn shame. And Matthew Pelton, not just Barry Letts and Terrence Dicks walked out of the screening.
Yep.
Of that movie, and they both hated it. Then Terrence Dicks wrote a book. This is when Doctor Who, other than that, was novels and comics, and he wrote a book called The Eight Doctors. Did anyone read that one? That was actually pretty good. It was Terrence Dicks repairing the damage done by the Fox pilot. But I remember, but what I'm saying, I guess, is I miss the days when that was our biggest problem with Doctor Who.
Yeah,
I take it now. But I didn't, you just never know how good you have it, right? Yeah. So, well, you know what? I tell you what, we'll wind up with, let's see, what's that story? Mitchell says, I'm very pleased and surprised to hear that you guys in the U.S. are such huge fans of all the British sci-fi shows, Doctor Who, Blake 7, White Dwarf. Love them all, buddy. And you know how I'm a freak for Blake 7. I probably am more unnaturally obsessed with any show with Blake 7 more than almost any other show. So yeah, I just adore it. And I love Red Dwarf as well. Yes, Stuart. And Stuart, by the way, Dolly had braces. But no. There's some, Vander says, Ace from that one. An Ace from that wanted poster appears in the episode Time Heist. Yes, that's I knew it was a Capaldi episode, but I forgot the name of it. That's exactly right. Thank you, Evander. Appreciate that. So I guess, we've listed episodes. Should we give our favorite doctors in order? You think we can get lynched for doing that?
I wonder if I could even manage it. I mean, I can fumble my way through it. Yeah.
You can just off the cuff it if you want to.
Okay. Well, Tom Baker's number one.
Yes.
John Pertwee's number two. See, now we start getting into the thing of performance versus showrunner. Because just go through what doctor you like. Go ahead. Okay. I really like Chris Eccleston. I really like Colin Baker. I like Davison and McCoy. I like Tennant. I like Matt Smith. Don't like the showrunner. Like Capaldi. Don't like the showrunner. And of course, Troughton and Hartnell. But it's hard to get a read on Troughton because I haven't. Admittedly, I'm pleading some ignorance here because I haven't seen much of his work compared to the amount of work he did versus the amount of work that's lost. So, I can't. I feel like I'm missing somebody. I didn't mention McGann, but again, McGann his work has been. I've listened to a lot of his Big Finish stuff, and I really like him in the Big Finish audios. Really so he and Baker have really redeemed. Colin Baker have really been able to redeem their eras through Big Finish. So it's hard to put them in an order. There really isn't a doctor I don't like because I keep reminding myself that these are performers. It gets all muddy, man, because it's like, am I rating their quality as an actor, or am I trying to rate their fictional persona as the doctor, or am I rating the showrunner?
I think which doctor appeals to you the most. I think basically.
Well, that's what
I would say.
Yeah, that's Tom Baker and then John Pertwee. Those are my two favorites. But I really like some of Colin Baker's performance choices. And I like some of I love the sinister quality that Sylvester McCoy brings out quite often. And I love Christopher Eccleston. So yeah, there's a lot to love in Doctor Who. There's a lot to love.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have I guess my order would probably be Wow, it's gonna be brutal. Tom, Pertwee, Troughton, McCoy, Davison, Smith, Tennant, Eccleston, Colin, William Hartnell, and did I leave anybody out? I guess because there's only 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I probably left someone out, but I can't remember who I left out. I don't know. I think I got everybody, but no, I left out. I think I left out Peter, and I didn't mean to. Capaldi.
Right.
I love the actor Capaldi, Tiger Stripes. I just didn't like his era. I didn't like his stories. I did not. I think it is a crying shame that such a great actor got rooked the way he did. Oh yeah, McGann. I put McGann and then Peter Capaldi. But Capaldi, it's an asterisk behind it. Capaldi was not allowed to play the Doctor.
Right.
In my opinion, or I mean, like the speech you gave, you talked about, for example. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, he was cheated. I don't like the way he was written almost ever. And I don't think he had very many stories I liked.
I completely agree. Completely agree.
And that's what Tyler says. Yeah, Capaldi. And that's what's the tragedy, because he loves Doctor Who. He was thrilled to get the role. He would have stayed on. He's just, I mean, it is undeniable how fantastic he is.
Kind of sounds like the Colin Baker situation, doesn't it? He was
similar, because Colin Baker was a Doctor Who fan, yes.
Yeah, he wanted to stay on as long as he could. He wanted to stay on longer than Tom Baker, and he had one of the shortest runs.
Yeah.
And Evander, if you like Frobisher and you haven't,
I do love Frobisher.
If you haven't listened to the Big Finish audios, there's a special Big Finish audio with Colin Baker and Frobisher. So it's really funny, really good.
Yes. Yeah. For those who don't know, Frobisher is a whiffadil, like this shape-shaped like alien that started in the comics in the Doctor Who monthly comics with the Colin Baker Doctor, and he looks like a penguin, and he was like a detective or an assassin or something, or if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
But I love Frobisher. And I don't know if you ever saw Torchwood Children of Earth, but Peter Capaldi's role in that, his name, the character name he played was Frobisher. John Frobisher.
That's funny.
I remember when I first saw it. I don't know if you guys have watched much Torchwood, but did you watch Torchwood at all?
Oh, I thought you were asking the audience.
No,
I've watched a few episodes of Torchwood. I have not gone down that well yet, because I'm still trying to dig my way out of classic Who at this point.
No, I got you.
Yeah,
I liked the first season, but beyond that, I wasn't too big on Torchwood. But I love Captain Jack, of course, and
mm-hmm.
he's a great character. So yeah, to me, my own personal headcanon, buddy, is that as much as I love Capaldi as an actor, I don't like the way he was written, and then of course and I don't like the story. So I've just decided, for me personally, even though I didn't like the story Time of the Doctor that much, that the being known as the Doctor that lived up until the end of that episode, and all of a sudden they found this magical way to regenerate him, again cheating big time, making regeneration, the 12 regeneration limit, meaningless, even though he'd already gone over it as it is. Kind of just, to me, that's my headcanon. The Doctor, the being known as the Doctor, the entity known as the Doctor, stops with that. Whatever came after was some being pretending to be him, similar to the Alan Moore Swamp Thing revision in the early 80s. Look it up. But so that's just me. Everything after that, and I watched everything, even the filthy stuff by Chibi that I won't really go into here. But to me, I just had to go back and say, it's just not enjoyable anymore. But that show brought me almost 40 years of just sheer joy, and I love it. The good and the bad. It's one of my all-time favorite shows. And a couple of years back, when you told me you were starting to get into it and watch it, I cannot tell you how thrilled I was. And I'm just so glad that you're a fan now, man.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Doctor Who came along for me when it did, because I was very disillusioned by Star Wars at that point and Star Trek. I was disregarding, and of course, just a few years prior to that, Indiana Jones had face planted, and I was disillusioned by those. And then, of course, the superhero films of DC were face planting as well, and it was just a bad time all around. And you and 2 or 3 other friends all at the same time kind of said, well, how come you've never watched Doctor Who? And I'm like, well, I know of it. I don't have an aversion to it, but they're like, well, it's like 60 years worth of, or at that time it was 50 years, with 50 years worth of TV and it's science fiction, and it's got all this behind the scenes stuff to learn. And I was like, yeah. And so that's the nice thing for me, is that I feel bad for lifelong Whovians who are watching the show crumble before their eyes, like they have for Star Wars and Star Trek and Indiana Jones and everything else that's been happening. Because I get to look back and go, ooh, well, I've got 60 years of TV I got to go watch,
Yeah.
and all of these documentaries to watch and featurettes. So I've got a nice diversion here. I'm good. And it's been a real blessing. It really has.
Well, that's fantastic. Absolutely. I envy you that. But we still have the old stuff to go back on. I mean, there's not, we'll see what happens going forward, but I'm not really interested in going forward anymore. I've made my peace with it, and I can't, and that's that. But this is the 58th anniversary, we're on right now. So I wanted to celebrate it a little bit. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it, since you and I've never actually really gotten the chance to talk about it that much. And, dude, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight, brother. Look how long I've kept you. I'd say I'm sorry, but I'd be lying to you, because I got to spend time and hanging out with you, man. So I just can't.
No, man, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Everyone, of course, you're all, of course, know Retroblasting, but if there's anyone out there that doesn't, and I don't know how you couldn't at this point, please, you can see in my description below, not only is there a link to his amazing YouTube page, but even a link to a video that I was able, dude, I was so honored to be a part of that video. I've got a better microphone since then, I think, by the way. I think if that helps, because my microphone back then, I don't know, I hope it sounded okay, but
it sounds great. Sounds great.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. We did a video called Pride of the X-Men. Folks. And I just had such a great time talking with you about that one. That's an amazing, dude. All your videos are amazing. What am I saying? They're so well produced and so professional that for you to let me be a part of something like that. I mean, look, I tried to warn you, and you let me be a part of it anyway. And dude, I appreciate it.
I told you though, since you've admitted you had such a good time doing it, I'm already prepped and ready, to write the script and get everything ready to go. I told you, yeah, that one was fun for both of us. This next one, we're both going to suffer, and you're going to suffer with me, by God, because we're going to watch The Shadow.
Oh my God!
With a man who, by the time we actually do this video, may be a convicted murderer. We don't know yet.
He might.
But he might be.
Shadow knows.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing that, and then talking about the toy line as well. So in 2 different videos. So my friend, it's happening here within the next month or 2. So get ready.
Oh, I'm ready, buddy. I only for you would I sit through that movie again. The last time I watched it, I think, did I tell you that, right?
No.
What year did it come out?
95, I think. 94,
At
95.
the theater.
Wow.
And I have there are a lot of people that do like that thing. I just did not.
But it's not good. It's not good.
You see, I'll tell you this though, in all seriousness, I am liable to watch it and have a different kind of a take on it. A while back, my good buddy J-Man and I, we did. I'm a big fan of the comic book character Judge Dredd. Right, I love Judge Dredd. I agree with how dopey and silly the Sylvester Stallone movie is, but the Carl Urban Dredd film is very popular with a lot of people, but this Judge Dredd fan. I hated it when it came out. I saw it the one time. And so a few months back, because for you, I mean, you talk about you're an apostate if you trash that movie. I was just, people were really going after me. I used to get people, how could you not love Dredd? People that just think it's the greatest thing ever. Well, I decided, all right, okay, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to forget what my old opinions of it. I'm going to try, and I'm going to watch it and be fair to it and give it another shot. It had been since 2012 in the theater that I've seen it, and I tried. And again, I changed some views on it. I mean, time does that to you,
right?
But Jamin and I did a deep dive review on it there, and so I was willing, and then I softened on it a little bit. I'll admit to you. So if there's anything good to say about The Shadow with Alec Baldwin, who knows? I haven't seen it. This is 26 years.
Wow. Well,
So
my opinion might be somewhat different too, because I haven't watched it in it's been at least 20 years since I've seen it. So, or more. So and again, I was the guy that chased all the pulp 1930s stuff, even the stuff that came out that was bad. I was like, well, it's they don't make much of this stuff anymore. This is the only stuff I get, so like I had The Shadow on Laserdisc right next to Dick Tracy and the Rocketeer, and the Phantom and all that stuff. And again, all of those films are varying levels of quality, some much better than others. It's a spectrum, but I just bought them all because it was 1930s pulp, comic book stuff. And so my take on this movie could change as well. I doubt it, but it could. So we'll see.
Well, we'll give it a shot, dude. I'm ready when you are. That will be a lot of fun. And listen here. Stuart Mitchell says, Michael, I've discovered your channel 2 years ago on live streams with Jeff Hicks of WCPs. And thank you for the great content. Indeed, you do some amazing stuff. Well, you all probably know Retroblasting, but if you've not, please go subscribe to their channel. Michael's the best, man. I miss hanging out with you because I know you're a busy man, but thank you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Joel, you'll regret that when we embark on Pride of the X-Men 2, The Shadow.
I can't wait. I can't wait. And let's talk some James Bond in the future. Some other stuff.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Now more Doctor Who to come. If tomorrow 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, everyone, the Global Geek Gang, I will have formerly Bowles Trek and TARDIS Zone and Dan with the Space Book and other Global Geek Gang members and people. We're gonna have a Who Love Fest, talking about who we love. So tomorrow, similar, we're just gonna go around the horn with the gang and celebrate the Doctor Who we love for the anniversary, because we beat up on it all the time and it deserves it because of what's going on with it. But we're gonna have some more fun with it. So I want to thank you all, everyone. Please, look, got some Clobby's Clubhouse tomorrow night, and we got Ghostbusters coming out tomorrow. I guess nice. I'll go see that. I don't know if that's coming out. Should I go see that?
Oh, you meant the new one. Okay.
The new one, yeah.
I reserve judgment on that until I hear reviews from my trusted friends come in.
I think I'll go tomorrow.
All right. Well, go with God.
I don't think he wants to see it. Kidding. It might be lovely. I mean, everyone's, you never know. Well, everyone, thank you so much for that and for hanging out with us tonight. I really appreciate it. And thanks again to the great Retroblasting. Please go to that channel, and I will see you all tomorrow on the Global Geek Gang. Have a wonderful night, everyone.